When I saw that car, I was like, whoa, it was so cool. I had to show it to all my friends. I like red cars the best, but only ones that are really, really fast. I can't wait to get one when I'm older. I'm going to get the fastest car in the whole world.
Though Weber also frequently posts about his other interests, which include motorcycles, fighter jets, and Marvel superhero Iron Man, the nearly 40-year-old small child confirmed that sports cars are his favorite, and the picture of the bright yellow Lamborghini has already garnered 15 likes and 9 comments from other enthused middle-aged children who are friends with Weber on the social networking site.
My best friend Bradley, he sent me a picture of a blue convertible that's so awesome. It has these big wheels and even has a racing stripe on it.
After watching several online videos of fast cars and eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch, the home-owning little tyke went to his room to take a nap.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Riley.
And Riley said this is the first time you've ever done a two-people Free Talk Live?
That's correct. I mean, I've done a show where it's just either you or someone else in the first chair for a bit of the show, but then another host shows up later on, so it'll just be you and I for the 3 hours.
You have, like, pretty good memory of every show we've done together because, I don't know, a lot of times I'm like, I don't know, have you done this show with so-and-so? And you're like, yes, 3 times, or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I do have a pretty good memory.
I have just done it so many times. Sometimes I always remember if I've like never done a show with somebody, but like the combinations that gets like basically tossed out by my brain, I think, after a while.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So anyways, tonight on the show we have lots of different stuff to talk about, including whatever you guys bring up by calling 603-283-6160. That's the phone number here. And you can bring up whatever's on your mind or talk about what we're talking about. It's up to you. And it actually looks like we have a call, so I'm going to answer this unscreened caller with like a really long phone number. You are on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind? Oh, they hung up. Sorry, maybe that person was just trying to listen. That happens sometimes, but we're going to go to our second caller. We have Turd Ferguson in Pennsylvania. Turd, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
A few things, actually. First of all, this week, God took mercy on humanity and allowed Donald Trump to become the 47th president of the United States.
Is that the story?
Yeah.
Is that the story everyone loves to tell?
I haven't been on since it happened, have I? I am very happy with the results. Every once in a while, I'm like, this is too, like, the thing that should have happened. Like, what's going to go wrong? I don't want to, like, celebrate, you know?
Right. Yeah, you know.
I don't know if I agree with this story, though.
I don't know if I agree with that story either. I mean, I don't think that God appointed Donald Trump to be the president. I don't think that God really even cares who the president is. I think it's just a story that people like to tell because they like their favorite side.
I don't know if God wanted Donald Trump to be the president, but if God exists, then he loves humanity and he had mercy on us and allowed the less bad outcome to occur. And I'll say that on Tuesday, when it happened, I ate a bunch of magic mushrooms and absolutely tripped my testicles right off. And
sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
No, I mean metaphorically. I still have my physical testicles. But I was going to say that as I was coming down off my trip, I actually found myself praying. And I don't even really believe in God, but I was like, God, please let Donald Trump become the president, please.
Oh, you did it before? Oh, my God, I couldn't have handled that. I don't know why. Like, I was completely sober. Well, I take kratom often, so maybe I was on kratom, but I was basically completely sober, and I still felt myself like getting a little bit nervous while the results were coming in. And I kept being like, don't allow that. Like, whenever I would feel that, I'd be like, nope, I'm gonna click off of the election results map for a while and go play Angry Birds or watch a YouTube video or something for a while. But no, I really think if I was on some kind of psychedelic while the news was coming in and like while it was uncertain, I would have been really freaking out.
Yeah, well, I found myself getting a little nervous too, because especially in the beginning of the night, and I should have expected this anyway, but because they count the votes faster in the cities, because they obviously have more people and more vote counters, more ballot workers. But
And
Kamala
I think more
Harris
electric ones.
Yeah, probably. But Kamala Harris was leading in Pennsylvania at the beginning of the night, and I was paying closest attention to Pennsylvania because I knew. Yeah, well, that too. But I also knew whoever wins the state was going to be the president more than likely.
Well, thank you, Turd, for winning Pennsylvania for us.
Exactly, Turd. I'm proud of you for winning Pennsylvania for us and winning the hearts and minds to Trump.
I assume that you voted.
I actually didn't vote.
Whoa.
I never vote anymore at all.
I was about to say that Turd saved the country, but now I don't have to say that. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to say that. But I did. I was hopeful though that Donald Trump would win, because I do believe that Donald Trump is smarter and significantly less bad than Kamala Harris. And I'll say this too about him. Regardless of what you think about Donald Trump, at least Donald Trump believes, based on what he says, that printing money causes inflation. That's one step above Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris doesn't even believe that printing money causes inflation.
Yep.
So I don't, and by the way, I actually firmly believe that's one of the reasons why he won, because I don't think that the American people can really take anyone seriously who thinks that inflation is caused by like corporate greed or something.
Yeah, I totally think that you're right, because that is a huge thing she was getting pushback on, was like her communist ideas about like price gouging is what she was calling it. Like she was basically saying she's going to do price fixing. I forget the word they usually use for that. And I think a lot of people didn't like that.
Right. Well, it's because it's hard to take seriously. And quite frankly, when she says that companies are price gouging, I mean, I have no idea what the hell she's talking about. I don't even know what company she's accusing of price gouging.
She doesn't get very specific with anything.
Yeah, she tends to be wish-washy and not specific, and will obviously use any method to get any, I guess, low IQ voter, as Bonnie likes to call them, to vote for her.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they are dumb, and thank God that this will be the last time that she's going to disappear. I mean, this person is so unimportant and so not relevant to the modern political landscape, or relevant to anything, really.
She's just a puppet, just like Fauci. Fauci has disappeared.
Yes, Fauci's also disappeared, thank God. But yeah, Kamala Harris will never come back. This will be the last that we hear of her, maybe ever, unless like she decides, like she gets like some deal by like some like woke book publishing company to write a book.
Yeah.
But even that will be short lived. And that's really all I have to say. Just thank God. The only other thing that I want to bring up, just because it's kind of disturbed me, is I can't even remember if it was this morning or yesterday morning. I can't remember, but I was listening to podcasts, as I do to sort of relax sometimes, and it was Bill Ackman, actually, who I really don't pay that much attention to. I mean, I respect him because he's been very successul, obviously.
He's a radio show host, you said?
No, Bill Ackman is a billionaire, and he's an investor, and he was I think I want to say it was the Lex Friedman podcast, actually, but I'm not sure. But he was talking about, and Bill Ackman owns a good chunk of Universal Music Group, which is far and away the single biggest music distributor in the world. And he was talking about, believe it or not, what I always talk about, what a great business model this is. I mean, he, uses intellectual property laws, which I love, to create a level of passive income, but also to find young 18-year-old women with a good set of pipes on them and turn them into superstars. And you guys had obviously heard me talk about this business model before, But for some reason, when I heard Bill Ackman, whom I do respect, talk about this, it just disgusted me so much. Like I don't know what it was about this conversation. It just totally disgusted me. Like I couldn't stand listening to this. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I hate this guy.
Wait.
And maybe it's just because he's like so rich.
You were disgusted by somebody else saying that they wanted to find 18-year-old women that can sing and make them into pop stars. Well, I'm just so shocked, honestly. Like, what about it was disgusting?
I know. I that's what's really bothering me, to be honest. That I personally was so disgusted by this, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because this guy's an elite. Like maybe if he was kind of like more like me, and he was just like he was just like a millionaire, maybe even a 9-figure maker, but maybe just because this guy's an elite, and I don't know I can't put my finger on it. Just what this guy was saying about this just disgusted me, and I was just like, ugh. And I don't know, and maybe it is just that I'm, a lot more like this guy than I even care to admit. I don't know what it was, but it really put me off. And
do you think it's that you were like jealous that it's not you?
Maybe I hope that's the reason, because
maybe so, Turd. Maybe so.
Well, anything else that it could be would be worse than that, in my opinion. So I hope that's what it was, but I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think it's like really, it's impressive. So listeners that don't know, Turd is building a music studio, and he talks about doing exactly what he talks about: finding young girls to make into pop stars and make beats for them and make music for them, produce music. He talks about wanting to do that a lot, and he's actually got a studio with like lots of expensive equipment in it in his house. Well, that's why I'm shocked that the same person or same thing being done by another person like disgusts you. But I do think it's like impressive and good that you can admit this, that you just noticed that feeling at all, because a lot of people like just go through the day and they're like, ugh, something bad happening in me. I drink beer and don't feel it. Like just not even noticing an emotion come up inside them. And
trying to suppress it. Yeah, which I cannot do, obviously, right now.
Right. I mean, you have some good self-awareness, it sounds like.
I have amazing self-awareness, and this is one of the. I mean, like
the most amazing self-awareness.
I'm extremely self-aware and based, but if I try, if I try to eat shrooms to suppress this feeling, it would only amplify it.
Yeah, mushrooms. I can understand that one. I mean, I've had shrooms a few times and cannabis, and they'll amplify the existential feelings that I feel. So
right. And Riley, I wanted to say too, because you asked me last time I called about finding your purpose. You should eat some mushrooms, dude, more often. And
I probably should. I think the last time I had mushrooms was like a week ago. It was a good mild dose. Had a mild experience. So maybe eventually I'll go again.
I was even thinking
you need
recently.
To take a heroic dose.
It's not a bad idea. I might have a trip sitter for that one though.
I was thinking recently about doing some of the ceremonial cacao that you gave me, Riley. I just haven't done it. I kind of forgot I had it for so long, like maybe a year, and it was so nice last time.
Now's as good a time as any.
Last time I did it while watching a video of somebody else's ritual where they're talking to the crowd, and everybody was crying and I was crying. It was great.
For our listeners who don't know, ceremonial cacao is essentially pure dark chocolate that's used for ceremonial purposes, and if you dose yourself the right way with the right amount, it can be an amazing heart-opening experience, because it's just chocolate and it's fairly stimulating.
And I didn't know that it was stimulating enough to be kind of like caffeine, and I took it at 10 o'clock at night and I couldn't sleep, so I don't know, just warning.
Yeah.
But it was a really nice feeling for a really long time. And it got me thinking in all these different ways. Sometimes you feel like your access to care is shut off.
Yeah.
Your ability to care about things gets shut off, and you don't even feel all of the love for your friends that you normally feel, etc. And then something like that will open the floodgates, and it's amazing. And also just help you be able to put words to certain feelings and stuff. So I don't know, maybe that interests you, Turd. It's really easy to buy online. They're not It's not like a drug. It's not illegal.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Well,
it's a
yeah,
drug.
I was gonna say I actually like cacao, and I ate some 85% dark chocolate the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's good.
I love dark
it's
chocolate.
very healthy for you.
Oh, yeah,
This-
and cacao is actually a nice MAOI inhibitor for mushrooms, and so it can help the mushroom experience last a little longer.
Oh, interesting.
This dark chocolate is like, you take all these little chunks of it and put it into a cup and heat it up at like you're making like hot chocolate, but it's almost so dark that it doesn't really taste that good. Like you can add sugar to it. That's what I did. And it's like you take kind of a big dose. So it's different than just eating dark chocolate bar by itself. And I think it's like really nice. It's a really nice feeling. Anything else, Turd?
No, that's all I've got. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much for the call. Really interesting stuff. Speaking of Trump being elected, one of the things he promised to do when he got elected was to kind of take a machine gun to, not a machine gun, that's a bad word for it. The word I'm looking for is like a giant saw, an electric saw. I can't think of the word for it right now.
Chainsaw.
Thank you. He wants to take a chainsaw like Malay to the federal government's departments and fire people, etc. He's been promising that, so I really hope he comes through with that.
I think that'd be really interesting to see what happens if he does do that, because, a lot of federal government employees will be unemployed, which, will give them opportunities to get better jobs, hopefully in the free market,
Yep.
rather than the oppressive market of the state. That being said, what's going to happen to all their pensions that they've been supposedly promised? Are they going to get rid of those? Are they going to lose those? Who knows?
I mean, even if like the last few people that had those jobs get paid out, like it would be so much better than continuously having new positions, new people joining the government all the time with all their pensions too, if they just like grandfather people out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Well, in the news today recently, and also I saw it on Twitter, people are wondering, is it possible to get rid of Jerome Powell, who is the head of the Fed, the Federal Reserve, which is not actually a government arm.
It's a private bank that the government borrows money from.
And I was seeing people say, yeah, it's not even legal or possible for Trump to remove him, but people are talking about it today. And Ron Paul, I will bring up his tweet about it. Ron Paul was talking about this subject today, and he posted his episode to his podcast and a long tweet about his thoughts. And Elon Musk retweeted that. And the thing is, Elon Musk is the person that Trump is saying that he's going to hire to be in charge of the Department of Cutting Government Departments. Kind of funny.
That is pretty funny. I mean, it's interesting to see what's going to happen with, the Donald Trump regime coming to power, because, a lot of Christians look to him as being this righteous leader and he's going to save America. But, perhaps that may not be true. You never know.
I really hope he doesn't get killed before he even gets to try. That would be annoying.
That would be really annoying, yeah.
There was someone from, I think, Iran who got arrested, and the claim was that he had been hired by some bad people to kill Trump before the presidency, or if he wasn't able to, then to kill him after he got elected and before, January 20th.
Right, and, he's been targeted for assassination before. We've talked about that on the show. He's
been shot.
Oh yeah, he's been shot. So
it's crazy.
It is really crazy. I mean, this whole election cycle has been really strange. I mean, Biden dropped out mysteriously, then his vice president came into play in the Democrat Party. There was no election held for her. She just was assumed to take the role, and she did very poorly according to the voters.
Yep, and no one ever actually voted to nominate her ever. That's never been the case for somebody who, I guess maybe some vice president probably never got, voted. So excluding those people, I think she's the only person who's never been nominated. Or she got nominated, but that's because she was just the one that seemed obvious, so the DNC just like forced everyone to choose her.
Yeah, the Democrats know how to play really dirty at times, and it's just really sad.
It was not democratic.
Yeah, they say they love democracy, but they don't have a democratic process in choosing their own candidate for the convention. So
let's get into this article from the Mises Institute. That's Mises.org. It says Congress should fire Jerome Powell. I have no idea if that's actually a possibility or anything. It says it's by Ryan McMakin, I guess. There were a few seemingly tense moments at the FOMC press conference on Thursday. I don't know what the FOMC is. Do you?
I do not.
When two reporters asked Jerome Powell about the prospect of Donald Trump asking Powell to resign. So I guess that's how he would do it.
Mm-hmm.
The first reporter asked, "Would you resign if asked to do so by Donald Trump?" To this, Powell responded with a resounding no, followed by silence. A few moments later, Powell was asked by another reporter if it was lawful for Trump to either remove or demote. That is, remove Powell as chairman, but leave him on the board of governors. To this, Powell responded with a forceful, not permitted under the law. Apparently, Powell wished to leave no ambiguity whatsoever about this position, that he cannot be removed or demoted by a sitting president.
Huh.
So I wanted to say what Ron Paul had to say about that. He talked about how this week the Fed chairman said no, he wouldn't step down if the president asked, and then Ron Paul goes on and says, Powell didn't mention, however, that the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional to begin with. No power was ever granted to the federal government to create a monopoly bank that manipulates interest rates and counterfeits money. So the big issue is not who has more authority over the other, the president or the Fed chairman. The issue is that the Federal Reserve should not exist at all. I love that.
I love it too. I think Ron Paul is making a great point, reminding the American people that the Federal Reserve is neither federal nor reserve, and is a bank that has a monopoly on our money supply and is ruining our money supply by printing more at will. I mean, we like to think that the economy, at least some of the lefts like to say that the economy has turned around under Biden, that the inflation rate is now at 2.1%, but these are all manipulated numbers, and it's entirely possible that Trump has been put in place to preside over the next economic crash, and who knows if that's true or not.
I love what Ron Paul said as well, because that's like, lots of people like to argue over things that are not the root of the problem in the news, and it's so frustrating. Like, focus on the basics first.
Yeah, we have to remember that the Federal Reserve is, like Ron Paul said, not constitutional, not part of the original government of this United States of America. It should be abolished.
And one thing that's really cool about that tweet I just read you by Ron Paul is that Elon Musk retweeted it. And it's not just cool because Elon Musk is like a celebrity. It's cool because Elon Musk is the person that Trump has flirted with, possibly putting in a position to be the person to be in charge of cutting government agencies, and I feel like that's pretty relevant. 603-283-6160 is the phone number here if you have anything you'd like to comment on or bring up a new subject you want to talk about on the airwaves. It's up to you. It's free. Talk Live. More coming up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Caroline Malone with the Week in Review. US President-elect Donald Trump has named his White House Chief of Staff as he begins appointing his top team. His campaign manager, Susie Wiles, takes the role. As a candidate, the former president vowed to carry out the largest deportation effort in US history. Benji Hire reports.
Donald Trump insists there is no price tag for his mass deportation plan, claiming the United States has, quote, no choice. But his decisive election victory means he has a mandate to try to carry out his vision, having scored record gains even amongst Latino voters, despite him regularly using dehumanizing language about undocumented migrants. Benji Hire, Washington.
The Biden administration says it will work with Trump's team on the transition of power after Tuesday's election. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden accepts the defeat of the Democrats.
The president and the vice president accept the choice the country has made. And because the president has said this many times, you heard him say this, you can't love your country only when you win, and you can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
While election loser Kamala Harris has conceded the US presidential vote and encouraged a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump. It comes after the stunning win by Trump to return him to the White House 4 years after he lost the 2020 election. Harris spoke to supporters at her former university, Howard, in Washington, D.C.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Israel has carried out fresh airstrikes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 40 people were killed in a separate set of strikes in the east of the country. Giles Gibson has more from Tel Aviv.
Video footage from the south of Beirut revealed the aftermath of this latest round of airstrikes, with bombed-out cars and fires still burning inside buildings reduced to rubble. The Israel Defense Forces said Hezbollah had placed weapons stores and operations centers in the area. Meanwhile, the IDF says its strikes in eastern Lebanon also targeted Hezbollah infrastructure. However, the Lebanese government says the operation killed dozens of local residents and damaged a historic building from the Ottoman era. Giles Gibson.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160 to call into Free Talk Live. And not your keys, not your Bitcoin is a lesson that too many people have learned the hard way. It's always best to get your crypto into a wallet you control, but not all wallets are equal. Many of our hosts have been using Edge Wallet for years to manage crypto, and there just aren't many wallets to compare. Featuring a unique login system that makes it easier for you to access your crypto from multiple devices, Edge is designed to be user-friendly. In a space that can be notoriously difficult for non-tech people, Edge is a valuable tool for novices and experts alike. You can learn more at edge.app. That's edge.app, which features a link at the top for those who wish to learn more about crypto and wallets in general. Thanks again to Edge for sponsoring Free Talk Live. And again, to learn more, visit edge.app. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Riley.
And in the last segment, we were talking about basically the idea that the Fed, the Federal Reserve, is not actually a constitutional part of the government.
It's neither federal nor a reserve. It's just a monopolized bank on the U.S. government.
Yep.
And, bankers have always been the people controlling the money, controlling the power. And so, we have this institution, the Federal Reserve, that gets to control the power of the United States, and they're the bigger power than the president, I think.
And they do not have, some reserve of gold backing your dollars or anything like that.
No, it's just backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government.
Yep.
That's what they say.
Yep. So basically, as long as you believe it's worth something, it's worth something. And I can't believe that people still will try to bring up that's why cryptocurrency in their mind is quote unquote worthless, because it's, that it's only worth something because people believe it. It, first of all, has more utility than the dollar, like as in being able to do something other than just be a representation of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, that's like a whole other rabbit hole, but so we're reading this article from Mises.org where the author, Ryan McMakin, he is talking about how Thursday, and it's Saturday today, so a couple days ago, Jerome Powell was asked at some kind of a conference. It's a press conference called the FOMC press conference. He was asked if he would step down if Donald Trump asked him to, and he said no. And then he said that it's not allowed in the law for Trump to try to do anything like that. We were talking about how Ron Paul brought up the pressing issue of the fact that, Jerome Powell didn't mention, there's nothing in the Constitution about it because it's unconstitutional to exist, the Federal Reserve, like we said. So Ron Paul tweeted that, and Elon Musk retweeted his tweet about it. So amazing that we have somebody who's actually close to the current U.S. president who is retweeting Ron Paul. It's just amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing that Ron Paul is getting his day in the sun again, because Ron Paul has been inspirational for a lot of libertarians, especially some of my closer friends. He's influenced a lot of people to, think differently about economics and realize that what you've been taught about economics in school isn't true. I mean, I think Austrian economics makes a lot more sense than, say, Keynesian economics. Or if someone likes to think that there's another school of economic thought out there that can challenge Austrian economics, I'd love to hear about it.
You mean I forgot what it's called all of a sudden. Evolutionary capitalism?
Yeah, evolutionary capitalism.
That's so funny.
It is funny.
It's just not a real thing. It's something one of our callers calls in about.
Yeah, he calls in a lot about it and makes up stuff all the time.
He can't exactly explain what it even is, and it's something that is his invention, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back into this article from Mises.org. It says that apparently Powell wished to leave no ambiguity whatsoever about this position that he cannot be removed or demoted by a sitting president. It would agree that the spirit of the law here is, I think he meant to say I would agree, that the spirit of the law here is that a president is not able to remove a Fed chairman except for some kind of misconduct, but ambiguity remains. Even Alan Blinder, a proponent of the myth of Fed independence, not sure exactly what that means, just some kind of idea that the Fed exists outside of the government's control, maybe?
I think that might be it. Maybe during the break we can look up some of these things.
Yep. He says, even Alan Blinder, proponent of the myth of Fed independence, admits that in the world of political reality, Trump could potentially remove Powell. And this is a quote from that guy, Alan Blinder. Experts who spoke to ABC News acknowledged that some legal ambiguity looms over what type of conduct warrants sufficient cause for removal, but they said a policy dispute is unlikely to meet such a standard. Still, Trump could attempt to push out Powell and test how courts interpret the law, experts added, noting that the case could end up with the conservative majority Supreme Court. Trump could try, and he might try, Alan Blinder, a professor of economics at Princeton University and former vice chairman of the Federal Reserve, said. It's very unlikely that he has that authority, but if he takes this to the Supreme Court, I don't know what to think of the Supreme Court. That's funny.
That's funny.
In any case, Trump would likely have to expand. So that quote is over, by the way. This is back to the Mises.org article. It says, in any case, Trump would likely have to expend some serious political capital if he wants to remove Powell via presidential power. Yet, Powell's defiance ought to provoke us to ask why wealthy, pampered, out-of-touch technocrats like Jerome Powell get to act like their removal constitutes some sort of transgression. Central bankers are just bureaucrats, and their removal ought to be regarded with no more trepidation than the removal of an undersecretary of agriculture. And then he goes on in this next segment to say why Congress should fire Powell and not stop there. He says, regardless of what Trump's legal powers may be, it is clear that Congress has the power to remove Powell, just as Congress has the power to abolish the central bank altogether. The Congress ought to abolish the Fed entirely, of course, but if members lack the stomach for that heroic act, Congress can begin with amending the Federal Reserve Act to make it clear that the chairman of the Fed is not a holy person untouchable by the mere mortals who are actually elected to run for federal government.
And he shouldn't be. I mean, it's interesting to me that, when we read that in the beginning of this article, Jerome Powell was like, well, I can't be removed. It's no, absolutely not. I will not be removed from my office.
Yep.
So he seems to cling to this power that he pretends to wield in the name of, I'm serving the people by giving them money. He's not serving anybody. He's serving the special interests of the bankers.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is it would just be so nice to have this, clergy class have kind of a hit to their ego in general, because it just gets really old how these people think of themselves, that it's just like lots of people like Fauci types, all these people that are, it's not a huge differentiation to me if they're elected or not elected, but there is something there. It's like, at least there's no argument that anybody chose Jerome Powell, like the average person, and they just basically go up there and claim all this power over people like Fauci and everybody involved in the Fed, lots of other people. It just feels like if you're going to be like that at all, just go and claim power with a government position that's not even constitutional. It says something about how you think of yourself, like the fact that you can even do that, like little dictators.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of like they think that they're untouchable, like this guy said, and some kind of holy, they have some kind of mandate from God to be there. It's why else would they think that they can't be removed,
I think it's because they love power. They love the sense of what it gives to them to control the banking system in this case, and what it is to be in this position of power where they get to call the shots to see how much money the American public are going to get and at what rate.
Yep.
I mean, right now, the interest rates, getting lower and lower because, the Federal Reserve is wanting to make money cheap again. And we all know what happens when money gets cheap as inflation goes up. And it seems like the more they print money, the cheaper the money is. People are going to flock to the cheaper money thinking it's going to be nice to have cheap money. But in reality, it's just a better way to enslave the populace.
You mean cheaper money as in easier to get loans?
Yeah.
Yep. Lowering interest rates. Yeah, that's what everybody should kind of understand now, that's what caused the collapse in 2008, that people were able to just really easily get loans and buy houses.
They always say, it's the housing market that caused the crash. No, that was a symptom of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that, the crash was brought upon because of cheap money. And but people don't learn the lessons of the past, Bonnie. They think that, cheap money is great because of low interest rates. I mean, low interest rates are great. Don't get me wrong.
Naturally.
But
if they happen naturally.
If they happen naturally by free market forces, fine. But right now, the Federal Reserve is forcibly lowering them in order to make money cheap and make it easy to flood the market with cheap money and just make the people feel like they're wealthy when in reality they're just becoming slaves to debt.
I think that one of the biggest things people were getting this free money for was housing, buying houses and stuff.
Yeah.
but I'm sure it was also completely not helped by things like credit cards and other kinds of debt. But we do have a caller on the line. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
It's your boy.
Oh.
Hey, why do you want to abolish the Fed?
Because it's not beneficial to the American public.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Tell us how it is beneficial.
It allows the government to attribute the debt to people who save in their currency, the people who indirectly fund government, the people who believe in the system. You're not forced to save in dollars, are you? Are you forced to save in dollars or not?
No.
No, right?
That's hardly like some kind of a free will choice.
It gives us a way out. It gives people that are conscious a way out of a debt crisis, right?
I don't want it happening to people who aren't conscious of how all this works. Like people that have to work every single day as hard as they possibly can and not be able to save very much at all anyways, and they're trying their best to put dollars into a savings account to watch out for themselves.
To you, Skeeter, it may not matter, but to us it does.
It matters to me.
But you got to look at the consequences of their actions. If they save the dollar, they're directly funding the government. They're paying to have Ian imprisoned.
They are not ultimately like the ultimate person who is at fault here just because they have the dollar. It's way more. You're way more at fault if you are Jerome Powell with all that. I'm going to pause you because I don't like to be spoken over like that.
Yeah, I think the point you're trying to make, Bonnie, is that Jerome Powell is more of a threat than the average person saving money in their checking. Oh yeah, because he's funding the absolute war machine that's keeping your husband in a cage.
Yeah, I mean, these people that are just trying to have enough money for if their car breaks down while they just use it to get to work every day, saving money, don't even know how all this works for the most part. Like, that's pretty high level stuff to start thinking like, wait a second, if I'm saving in dollars, I'm basically, paying with my wealth every day, as my wealth gets transferred up. That's basically what happens.
Yeah,
you have a dollar.
Yeah, inflation is just the rich robbing the poor time and time again. It's the story that we've been told for thousands of years. The poor are always robbed by the rich, and it's always done by the bankers, the people in power.
And the other thing about it is, like, if you have a dollar, say you have $100 and it can buy some certain amount of goods, as it becomes weaker and unable to buy that same amount of goods, it's just the energy that is represented by those amount of goods just getting stolen from those people and given to people that are richer than them, that get first access when money is printed. People like Jerome Powell, for sure, like, he knows exactly what's happening. And it's kind of disgusting to even try to blame them, as if like I would try to point at somebody like that and say it's their fault that Ian's in jail. And it's so stupid when people try to like use emotional manipulation to make points to me like that.
That's
like
the end result. When people save in their currency, they give credibility to the dollar. You don't agree with that? It allows the government to spend beyond their means.
So you think that people should just die so that way Ian can get out of prison, even though they have no clue that that's happening, and that's obviously not even how it would work. If the dollar went like to crap tomorrow, cops wouldn't just quit their jobs and open the gates and let all the prisoners out of prison. There would just be some kind of alternative handed to them, and life would go on. Like, trust me, people aren't just going to let their power go away and not be like, oh, here, I have the solution.
So what's your solution, Skeeter? How do we end
This is the solution.
The stranglehold?
A default is the solution. It's the solution even to your silly goal of freedom. There's no such thing as peaceful secession, right?
Only it's just happened before. It's happened before.
No, there is fiscal dissolution. And that's what I'm talking. Well, I don't care about your liberty, really. I want the dissolution.
Obviously, you don't care about anyone's liberty. Because you're sitting at home in your mommy's basement.
I know. I was going to say, it's kind of funny to even hear you say that. I don't care about your liberty. You have no power over us. You're just like a loser with like barely power over your own life. Like, we don't need you for that. Anyways, I'm done talking to him. He's just like, he never knows what he's actually talking about. He jumps over hurdles to make his point, and it's not that I won't talk to someone who is like an immoral person, but what's the point when he doesn't make any of his like points about what should happen in the world based on morality? You're just like a lost, confused child forever, playing on the board game of life, not even going the right direction. Why have a conversation with somebody like that who doesn't want to change? Like, I feel like it would be just as useful to have a conversation with Skeeter as it would to have a conversation with like a 3-year-old. Like, there's literally no point, because a little 3-year-old is just like, I want blah 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 now. I don't care who it hurts.
Yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, I think Skeeter is trying to formulate some ideas. He sounds like
he's already got in his head what he wants to say, and he will not change based on what you say. Trust me.
I trust you on that. I've heard his calls enough times on the show to know that, but at the same time, he's a bit of a collapsitarian and kind of entertaining.
I honestly don't even find him entertaining. Like, and so many people have finally changed their mind on this with me. Like, where at first, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, when I was first like hanging up on him all the time, not having conversations with him, they were like, Bonnie, you need to let him talk for an hour. I don't know what's wrong with you. It's Free Talk Live. You should let him talk for an hour. And now those same people are saying to me, like, yeah, it's like kind of annoying when he's on. Like, he doesn't make points. He isn't interesting.
I can see that point, and
Sarah is more interesting.
I think at the same time, he's called in enough times that he's starting to overstay his welcome. He's a chronic caller.
It's like you can be a chronic caller.
At least a segment for like a half hour. So, he's definitely had enough airtime.
Yeah.
And, he's not going to be convinced of anything but his own opinions, and he likes to get on and bloviate, so.
He also, like, you can be a chronic caller, and I still, like, welcome you to call in. Like, Sarah, David from New Mexico, they definitely fall under chronic caller, but they don't talk about the same exact thing every single night. Sarah's, like, got her topics, but...
She does. She likes to talk about voting and traffic.
And neither of them are just like straight up completely viciously rude to us for no reason, and just like annoying,
calling
like,
us names, you're
annoying
stupid.
Noises too. Yeah. Neither of them make annoying noises. Now I feel like David's gonna hear this part of the show, call in and make annoying noises when he calls in. I am.
Well,
calling
he likes to troll.
Yep.
Free Talk Live.
Talk radio you control.
Yeah. This is a Colin radio show.
Did you like that? That was funny.
That was funny. Colin is a funny guy.
So this article on Mises.org, going back to that, that same topic that we were talking about Ron Paul bringing up, that Jerome Powell believes he can't be fired by the president, and talks about the law as if he isn't part of this Federal Reserve that is not even constitutional. Well, getting back to this article, he says, regardless of what Trump's legal powers may be, it is clear that Congress has the power to remove Powell, just as Congress has the power to abolish the central bank altogether. The Congress ought to abolish the Fed entirely, of course, but if members lack the stomach for that heroic act, Congress may begin with amending the Federal Reserve Act to make it clear that the chairman of the Fed is not a holy person, untouchable by mere mortals who are actually elected to run the federal government. There are many ways Congress could approach this issue. For example, Congress could rewrite the law to allow Congress to remove the Fed chairman with a majority vote in either house. It doesn't really matter so long as the central bankers get the message that they're not special. I'm sure that they try to retaliate in some way, don't you think?
Oh, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they'd find a way to retaliate by, making it harder to borrow money, things like that, making it more expensive to borrow money, trying to crash the economy. They're going to find ways to threaten you.
I always thought about what would happen if, the Fed just actually got ended, really suddenly. I think about how that would affect everyone in general. But also if they would retaliate.
I don't know. I don't know if it's ever been done in history, so it's hard to say what they will do.
I even thought about that with like Malay. He had a lot of big changes he wanted to make to their money, and honestly, it's been like months since I really, really was into learning about Malay, so it's like don't really remember what all those big changes exactly were. And the IMF was like threatening him. He ended up making peace with them in a way. The IMF is the International Monetary Fund.
Yeah, the International Monetary Fund. They're the big bankers of the world that control the money supply and allow countries like Argentina to borrow money.
Like, I think you'd say they're like above the Fed even, like bigger than the Fed, and no one knows who they individually are.
And, you know, these banking cartels are not individuals. You can't knock on their door and say, hey, I would like to talk to you about the horrible things you're doing. They're, you know, they're immune from this thing. They're the virus that keeps the ship afloat.
Yep. And that's like really creepy if you start to think about
That's
that.
a weird
Like,
analogy. I just made the virus that keeps the ship afloat.
I didn't really notice for some reason. I felt like I just got the idea.
Keeps the people sick and afflicted.
Yeah, I don't. Sometimes like people will make like a metaphor. It's almost like when you know what they're trying to say, it's like it just kind of was accepted by my brain.
Yeah.
But if a lot of people, I think that they think about like who's in charge, and in their brain it's just like, oh well, obviously Joe Biden. And it's so weird to think about stuff like we don't even know who the people are behind the IMF. Like, they may have some public-facing people. I'm sure they do. I don't know any of them by name. But even then, it's like these people like Jerome Powell, like, do the average people actually know about him? Like, does everybody know that name, you know?
I don't know if people do. I think they're more interested in interest rates and things like that than who is running the Federal Reserve and what the Federal Reserve is and isn't.
It's really weird to think of these people that are so unaccountable, irresponsible to you, and they have so much control over your life.
Absolutely. I mean,
without your consent.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, people forget that these people with titles, whether it's government agents or whether it's, you know, the Federal Reserve, they forget that these people with titles are just people. They're just they poop like you and I do. They put their pants on like you and I do. They're just like us, except somehow they have magic titles, and that enables them to do magical things with money. Or in the cases of religion, that gives them the ability to speak with a god. And I don't think I could be so worthy to have that kind of power to speak with a god or have that kind of control over the money, and yet here these people are. They're just like you and me.
They're just people, and they're parasites on the rest of the population. They're unproductive. If these people, if a bunch of government workers got fired by Trump like he's claiming that he's going to do, these people would have to go become productive in society, for some of them for the first time in their entire lives, doing something that actually helps anybody else or makes a difference outside of just them collecting a paycheck that is absolutely just money that has been taken from somebody else. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
When commercials come on, don't push the button. Instead, listen. Even if you don't sell things for a living, you're still selling in the various conversations and transactions that make up your busy day. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. So take a lesson from Madison Avenue. Often the fewer words, the more effective the message. Like Jiffy Lube, where you never need an appointment, or the Office Max ad that says, you supply the ambition, we supply everything else. How about online ticket broker StubHub.com, the way in when it's sold out, or CyberCupidMatch.com's seductive, go ahead, it's okay to look. How cleverly and succinctly can you distill your message? For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Caroline Malone with the Week in Review. US President-elect Donald Trump has named his White House Chief of Staff as he begins appointing his top team. His campaign manager, Susie Wiles, takes the role. As a candidate, the former president vowed to carry out the largest deportation effort in US history. Benji Hire reports.
Donald Trump insists there is no price tag for his mass deportation plan, claiming the United States has, quote, no choice. But his decisive election victory means he has a mandate to try to carry out his vision, having scored record gains even amongst Latino voters, despite him regularly using dehumanizing language about undocumented migrants. Benji Hire, Washington.
The Biden administration says it will work with Trump's team on the transition of power after Tuesday's election. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden accepts the defeat of the Democrats.
The president and the vice president accept the choice the country has made. And because the president has said this many times, you heard him say this, you can't love your country only when you win, and you can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
While election loser Kamala Harris has conceded the US presidential vote and encouraged a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump. It comes after the stunning win by Trump to return him to the White House 4 years after he lost the 2020 election. Harris spoke to supporters at her former university, Howard, in Washington, D.C.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Israel has carried out fresh airstrikes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 40 people were killed in a separate set of strikes in the east of the country. Giles Gibson has more from Tel Aviv.
Video footage from the south of Beirut revealed the aftermath of this latest round of airstrikes, with bombed-out cars and fires still burning inside buildings reduced to rubble. The Israel Defense Forces said Hezbollah had placed weapons stores and operations centers in the area. Meanwhile, the IDF says its strikes in eastern Lebanon also targeted Hezbollah infrastructure. However, the Lebanese government says the operation killed dozens of local residents and damaged a historic building from the Ottoman era. Giles Gibson, Tel Aviv.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Israel's foreign minister is travelling to the Netherlands for talks after Israeli football fans were caught up in violent clashes in Amsterdam. The Dutch Prime Minister has described them as anti-Semitic attacks, with 62 people arrested by local police. Here's more from Giles Gibson.
Fans of the Maccabi Tel Aviv football team travelled to Amsterdam for a match against the Dutch heavyweights Ajax. But after the final whistle, violent scenes broke out in the city centre. Videos on social media show groups of men running and clashing in the streets, with anti-Israeli slogans being shouted. Other footage appears to show visiting fans pulling down a Palestinian flag carried by a group of protesters. After initially planning to send 2 military planes to collect fans, the Israeli government said a professional rescue operation would not be necessary. Giles Gibson, Tel Aviv.
And Germany's three-party coalition government has collapsed after a falling out between the Chancellor and Finance Minister. It means Berlin is now on course for early elections. Trent Murray has the details.
In a late-night press conference, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said he had fired his Finance Minister Christian Lindner because he had broken his trust. Lindner, from the pro-business FDP party, had called for drastic changes to help Germany's struggling economy. But his suggestions of policies like big corporate tax cuts didn't align with Scholz's own left-wing Social Democrats and the Green Party. And so the three-party coalition came crashing down. The departure of the FDP now means Scholz doesn't have a majority in Parliament. He has agreed to hold a confidence vote on January 15th in his chancellorship. It's expected he will indeed lose that vote, paving the way for an early election mid-March. Trent Murray, Brussels.
I'm Caroline Malone in Washington, and that was the Week in Review.
Everyone in a bustling Chinese parade is attempting to elude pursuers. Newly discovered cave paintings suggest early man was battling a lot of inner demons, and a xylophonist is shredding it. This Tuesday, FBI officials disclosed details of a disturbing al-Qaeda plot to just kick back, relax, and savor the inevitable collapse of the United States. Intelligence agencies confirmed the massive coordinated plan involves terrorist cells across the globe, training specifically to take a load off and unwind as America's political infighting, class divides, moral indolence, and environmental self-destruction gradually tear the nation apart.
Our righteous warriors will devote our time to relaxing and really soaking in the infidel self-destruction. America's cities will be reduced to ruins. The economy will come to a standstill. And we, the blessed of Islam, will kick back, put our feet up, and enjoy the show. It's going to be great.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash, Digital Cash. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project with a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month for this sponsorship. It's easy to get and use Dash. You can learn more at dash.org. That's dash.org. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Riley.
And we already have callers on the line, so we're going to go straight to your phone calls and thoughts. We have David in New Mexico on Free Talk Live. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
It's your daddy. It's your baby daddy.
Oh my god. Some kind of cartoon character, it sounds like. I can't remember which one.
I don't either. So what's this Free Talk Live you guys are doing?
Free Talk Live?
What do you mean?
Free Talk Live. That's what you said. You said this is Free Talk Live. Where's your suit?
Are you
Where's
saying,
your fursuit?
like I said, free weird?
Oh, there it is. Furry Talk Live. It's free weird too. That's your furry right there in your hand.
Oh, I also wondered if you're talking about my pink pen that has furry ball.
Your pink what?
Pen?
Pen. Oh, okay, that's different.
Like to write with? So I have a pink pen with like a fluffy ball at the end. My favorite one
again,
died the other day. What?
Say that again. A what? A pink pen? Wait, say that. You say
for
it.
writing with, and it has this fuzzy, soft
Fuzzy what?
ball at the end. One ball.
Oh, yeah. I love it, Bonnie.
And then had, like, my favorite one was like a pink pen that had a ball made of tinsel at the end. And it ran out the other day, but I'm just going to go get another one from Hobby Lobby.
What are you doing with your pink furry right now?
Hitting it against my hand.
Oh, okay. All right.
I used to be able to basically hypnotize Jay Noon with my tinsel one. It's just like really fun to look at, and it was so funny because I would be like twirling it while I was talking, and I could see his eyes were like he'd be talking even about like really serious stuff, but his eyes were like locked in on my twirling pink pen. It's just like it's that entertaining.
That does sound interesting.
It was funny
and distracting.
Now you're onto something. When you walked out of the room at the last break, Riley was checking out your butt. I saw it.
No, he wasn't.
His eyes were locked on your butt, Bonnie.
Were they?
No, they weren't.
I didn't even notice.
No, they weren't. I don't believe that in general, and also, like, callers that don't know, Riley is blind, so that's part of, I think, David's joke.
Yeah.
What? Riley's blind?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Well, then how could he possibly have been checking out your butt?
You knew that. He knew that.
Well,
and that's the whole point.
you're asking the wrong question, David. I wasn't checking out her butt in the first place, so...
Riley has a girlfriend.
I do have a girlfriend.
I don't
Well,
know what
that
you
doesn't
said.
matter. Polygamy. You're Mormon. You're Mormon. Polygamy.
Well, I do have polygamous ancestors. I will say that.
Well, I never thought about that if you had polygamous ancestors.
Ancestors?
But
What's
no
a
one in your
ancestor?
life right now, right? Or like family?
No family that I know of is practicing polygamy unless they left the Mormon church, the mainstream Mormon church, for like the Warren Jeffs group or the FLDS church.
Yeah, fundamentalists.
Yeah.
War on who?
Moron Jeffs.
That's really
Moron.
a name? I never heard that term. I only ever heard FLDS.
Yeah, well, Warren Steve Jeffs is the so-called prophet of the FLDS church, so, you know.
Wow.
He's actually still trying to run the congregation from jail, believe it or
I
not.
was about to say, didn't he go to jail?
Yeah, he's still in prison. He's trying to run things from prison. He has faithful, devoted followers that record his revelations and spread them to the people, so.
Wow, yeah, I think I have heard all about this. I just forgot his name.
That's the freaky LDS, right, Riley?
I guess you could say that, but you know they like to think of themselves as the fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because the mainstream church fell into apostasy when they abandoned polygamy.
And what's funny about you saying that, David, is have you seen Mormon Talk, Mom Talk, or the I think it's a Hulu special that's the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? They're the freaky libertarians.
No,
sorry,
Tell us about
say
it.
freaky
Tell us about it.
Mormons. Well, basically, a bunch of Mormon moms and wives who had like very like picture perfect looking lives. Like they're all beautiful, and it feels like 99% of people in Utah are beautiful in general. A lot of them are blonde. A lot of them do all the same exact like hairstyles and makeup styles, which aren't exactly my style, but they look fine on them. Anyways, and they all aspire to look exactly the same. And a bunch of these like Mormon moms with kids and husbands and stuff, they would post just about like parenting and stuff like that on TikTok, and they founded Mom Talk. Like obviously other people are moms that post on TikTok, but this was like a really big group with lots of followers, and I don't think it had anything to do with like they didn't go on there and talk about Mormonism, but a bunch of them were Mormons from Utah, and they got really, really popular. And then like there was all this drama where like people would, people followed them and like they're like, oh, like Ashley and Sarah, they're best friends, and like people are all invested in them just from TikTok.
Yeah.
And what happened was like a big dramatic schism happened where some of them were, or like some of them claimed that every single one of them were swinging with each other's husbands and wives.
Baby.
And they, like, some of them took just straight up responsibility, or what I'm trying to say is like they admitted to it. They were like, yep, it was happening, and trust me, everyone was involved. Not one person is innocent in this. And then others were like, no, I never did anything of that. It was just Ashley and Sarah. And basically, like, they got a Hulu show out of it called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and it's just basically like trashy. I think that they want to, quote unquote, they, them, and those are trying to target Mormons to kind of mess with their culture like they do with everyone else, because Mormon culture is just so strong and like good and like family oriented.
They want to portray the Mormons as kind of weird, which, Mormonism is kind of a weird religion if you think about it, because, it's founded on some guy supposedly having a vision of God in a grove of trees, and then later on in his life translating a book with a rock in his hat. So, it is a kind of a weird religion.
It's such a funny.
Did you ever run into Donny Osmond, Riley?
No, I've never run into Donny Osmond.
I have.
Nice.
Didn't he die?
No.
Oh, okay. Like, I always mix up him and Cher's boyfriend. What was his name? Oh, Sonny.
Yeah, and did Allman die? Greg Allman? No, that's Dwayne. Well, wait, Greg Allman died too, didn't he?
I don't know. I don't really know who that is.
I don't
An
know who
Allman
that is
brother,
either.
I guess.
It was Cher's boyfriend.
Oh, Honestly, I don't know. I just know that she wrote Believe after Sonny died, and she went to like a psychic, and the psychic helped her contact Donnie, which is really cool.
Wait a minute, Donnie or Sonny?
Or Sonny, sorry.
Because
they like both had
They all
TV
ended
shows, Sonny and Cher, right? And then Donnie
and
Osmond.
Marie.
Oh yeah.
It's the NNY that's getting you. All those
In fact,
NNY names.
it'd be so. Me and Ian need to have our own like show about being a couple and being awesome, and it'll be like the Ian and Bonnie, or no, the Bonnie and Ian, because that's how these usually go. Sonny and Cher, Bonnie and Ian. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen when Ian gets out of prison.
So you and Ian are going to do a show together, a TV show?
And somebody will.
The Secret Lives of Ian and Bonnie?
Yeah. Somebody.
And it's just you going to liberty activist events?
Yeah, it's us
Not
filming
standing
in court.
for the judge.
Yeah, not standing for the judge.
Filming
That's
in court.
so funny.
Going to 420 rallies.
Somebody was saying, just chalking outside of courthouses. Somebody was saying today that Ian should change his name to Clyde, and it would be so cool if I ended up marrying someone named Clyde. And honestly, maybe if I ever, well, I don't know. If I ever had kids, which Ian is like, if I ever did like IVF or something and had kids.
Wait, perfect timing. That's my line, Bonnie.
I can name my son Clyde. That's what I was saying.
No.
Go ahead.
Ian may be your husband, Bonnie, but he will never be your baby daddy.
Gross.
I think David likes to pull your leg.
Yeah, and he likes to call himself
That ain't
Yo
all.
Baby Daddy because
Yo,
Skeeter
baby daddy.
calls in and says, it's your boy. It's your
Hey,
daddy. So weird.
Did you get a chance to listen to Skeeter laugh at double time speed?
No, what are you talking about?
Because what you do is you play Free Talk Live at double time when Skeeter's calls on, and then it sounds like Flipper.
Oh my god. No, I haven't done that. I've heard lots of people do this, and I've tried it a couple times, but I never really listened to any podcasts like Double Speed or YouTube videos or anything like that.
I usually do.
I don't. I feel like I need a lot more time to like sit there and think about what was said, you know. It kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to blow through my podcasts. I like listen to them and never want them to end while they're playing and I'm doing dishes, and then when it ends and I'm like, oh, I have to get another one.
What podcast is this, Bonnie?
I like to watch Rooted in Resilience. Rooted in Resilience. I messed up because I meant to say I like to listen to them. Well, I guess you can technically watch them. It's two sisters, and they talk about like Ray Peat, bioenergetics, eating and fitness and stuff like that. Love them.
Are they Mormon?
No, they live in Michigan. Or I don't know why that was relevant, but they're not Mormon.
Living with the same man.
They run
living with the same man then.
They run a regenerative farm, just them two, and they didn't grow up on a farm. They grew up in Chicago, like they're first generation farmers, and they started their own farm called Angel Acres together, and they're the people that like single-handedly convinced me to start eating meat again. They're awesome. So I love that podcast. I like listening to this guy who's a mystic calls himself a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho in every video, and his name is Mystic Jen Mara. What else? All of a sudden I can't think of anything else like that I like to listen to every day. Oh, Joe Mercola. It's another health one. I don't know how much people are interested in that, but since you asked, David, what do you like to listen to?
Well, I suppose the right answer is Free Talk Live, huh? Is that what you're fishing for, Bonnie?
That's the right answer.
Yes, that's the correct answer.
You win.
Congratulations.
What did I win?
You win a chance to sponsor the show.
Aw, that sucks, man. I thought it was going to be something good.
A chance to sponsor the show. That's funny.
What were you hoping for? A chance to produce the show?
Well, no, because that would be a bad thing, because I'd do all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't like.
Another thing I like to listen to is every now and again Tom Woods. I don't listen to it as like, oh my god,
That's
every
the only one of
single
all those
day.
I've ever even heard of.
Wait, what?
That's the only one of all those podcasts I've ever even heard of, Bonnie. And I haven't listened to it.
Most of those I was talking about are not like super duper huge. Joe Mercola is probably pretty is like pretty big. He was called the like #1 purveyor of misinformation by some government people in 2020, which is awesome. Like medical information, misinformation.
Oh, I thought it was a new soda.
What?
Soda pop, cola.
Oh,
Mercola.
Dr. Mercola, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like to listen to a podcaster by the name of Aubrey Marcus, and he's done podcasts on his own ayahuasca experiences and things like that. And I can relate to that because I've also had ayahuasca, and I can, enjoy his podcast because he talks about his growth experiences taking ayahuasca and working with various plant medicines, and also, finding your mission in life and getting your life together and things like that. He has some very interesting podcasts.
Interesting.
Well, I've had similar experiences, but it wasn't ayahuasca; it was whiskey.
Oh
is that whiskey from Iowa?
It is. How did you know? You've had it. Did you like it?
I've never had whiskey from Iowa, but it was just a random guess.
They should definitely name something that, like, if they make whiskey anywhere in Iowa, they should definitely name it Iowa whiskey.
They should. That'd be funny.
Well, it's, with all that corn, it's corn whiskey. They got plenty.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know anything about making any alcohol. I know that they make a lot of whiskey in Kentucky, right?
Bourbon.
One time, a long time ago, I tried whiskey just by literally like putting it into my mouth and spitting it back in. And I was like, that is a much more pleasant and fun way to drink whiskey. And like be able to taste the different tastes in it instead of being like, ow! And then it's like, I guess that one was good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Basically what drinking is for me.
I guess it's best to really sip whiskey nice and slow.
I've always heard
Small
that,
sips.
but you can just not swallow it if you don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not a whiskey drinker, not a huge alcohol drinker myself. I do like wine, though.
Me either. I'm not a big alcohol drinker at all, and I used to like hate wine almost the most, but I drank some Prosecco with my friend for his birthday slowly and just like in conversation with everybody. I only had like a glass and maybe like got it refilled a little bit more, but not like even 2 glasses. So I didn't get like all drunk, but I didn't feel terrible. And that is a really big deal for me because like when I stopped drinking like 2 years ago, it was because like primarily alcohol just started making me feel sick when I drank it. Like not even the next day. I mean like while I'm drinking it, just I thought I was allergic to alcohol. So now I kind of think maybe taking things really slow, having like a quality like type of alcohol instead of just like, not drinking like Trulies or White Claws or something.
You should try high quality tequila. It tastes good. It tastes good. You drink it like at room temperature without ice. I mean, well, you can do whatever you want, but that's what I recommend. Plus, it's really expensive, so you wanna savor it. And people that I don't drink tons of it. I don't drink to get drunk, but people who actually do drink to get drunk say they have basically no hangover, no side effects from having whatever they want of high quality tequila.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. Emphasis on high quality. It's got to be the good stuff.
Yeah. I don't think
is
I've
there
ever had
a
any.
particular brand that's the highest quality you know of?
Well, I recognize high quality brands. I can't like recite them for you.
Okay.
And if I did, all the people that really do know their tequilas would laugh at me. But all you got to do
debate.
is go to the tequila section and then look up and then spend money and you'll have the good stuff.
Okay, noted.
I did kind of enjoy the taste of it back when I drank like a lot more. Like I liked like margaritas, like strawberry margaritas. I even kind of enjoy the smell. It's so unique, but I just don't really I don't see any need for me to get into like a drinking habit, especially with like Ian gone and he doesn't drink at all. I think he'd be like, oh, Bonnie, not that.
Well, that's the reason. That's the reason to start drinking is because Ian is gone. So you got. I mean, it's a country song, right?
Oh my god, that would be really sad if I was just drinking instead of dealing with Ian being in jail.
Well, that's what you should do, Bonnie. So you got to start drinking because Ian's in jail, and then get yourself a guitar and learn to play like 3 chords, and then you can be what's her face at the beginning of her career, Taylor Swift.
Oh my god.
And Bonnie loves Taylor Swift. And I know she's Bonnie's idol. She talks about Taylor Swift all the time.
No, I don't love her. And I did like her when she was a country singer and I was like 12 or something. I loved like that first album that came out. Believe it or not. In fact, I would still listen to some of those songs. And I do once in a blue moon, but they're kind of marred by who she is now. She's so awful. She's so terrible. Crying about how important it is to elect Kamala Harris. Just like a really irritating and horrible person. The worst thing for me is really the way that she, like, anytime somebody is projected to be about to go number one, when her album is like the current number one and it's fading and it's been out for months, suddenly Taylor Swift is releasing a new version of this song that's already been out just so her fans like will go crazy and buy it and block that person from like going number one. She is chart obsessed, and
it sounds like it, yeah. From what you're telling us.
Yeah, it will blow your mind.
Is she chart obsessed, or are her handlers chart obsessed?
Whatever. I don't know. That's kind of the
whatever?
thing. It's kind of like the thing, like, how am I supposed to know the answer to that for one thing, and for another thing, it's like I have to think of celebrities in one way sometimes, and then also in another way at other times, like hold both those ideas in my head at the same time. Like, oh my God, I have this opinion, but also at the same time, I know it's possible that this is just a complete made up distraction, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't mean that I can't like consider like what I want to think about it anyway. Like, it's like I have to have multiple thoughts in my head about, sometimes conflicting thoughts when thinking about celebrities, because there's so much you can't possibly know. Is Lady Gaga a witch, people say?
Yes.
And does that mean I should stop listening to her even if she is? You know what I mean?
No. You can isolate. You can
Right.
have both.
I kind of think that too. Like, I sold my Lady Gaga tickets for the Chromatica tour.
You sold your soul.
Wait, what?
I thought you were going to say you sold your soul.
No.
Bonnie would never sell her soul.
Yeah, and so like I didn't go see Lady Gaga in 2021, I think it was, or 2022.
It's like your virginity. You don't want to give it away.
My soul?
Yeah, your soul's like your virginity.
Yeah, I don't.
Might as well get some money for it. I mean, you could be just talk to Turd. He'll hook you up.
With selling my soul? Oh yeah, because he's okay. I didn't know what you meant for a second.
No, your virginity.
Ew.
Of course, you're not 18. You're not 18 anymore. So I mean, I don't know if you'd be interested.
Ew. Well,
what do you do? Don't go insulting Turd on national radio.
That's just really weird and gross. But anyways,
all right. I'm finally getting catching up to Flipper.
Flipper.
He doesn't say that many gross things other than when he says, "It's your boy, it's your daddy." That's so gross.
It's your baby daddy.
I don't think he says baby daddy.
He will now. You mark my words.
Yeah, probably. Well, David, thanks for the intriguing conversations, but
cracks me up sometimes.
He cracks me up sometimes too, and he is a chronic caller that doesn't like bother me. Maybe the callers don't like him. I don't know. They can call in at 603-283-6160 and let us know if they hate David's calls. I have no idea. But by the way, Lori is not fired. Some of the trolls were asking if Lori is fired, and she's not. She's still in the process of moving, which, oh my God, takes so much work.
It does. I mean, I've moved twice since I got to New Hampshire, and it does take a little bit of work.
Just putting stuff in boxes, moving your entire life.
Yeah.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. 603-283-6160 if you would like to get in on the conversation with us. And also, if you want to change the subject, it's up to you. More coming up about Jerome Powell and Trump and Elon Musk, and also guns.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
There are such thing as called a breatharian. And you know what? George Norrie doesn't eat, sleep, or drink either. Did you know that? Yes. You know what? He never gets tired.
George Norrie, the host of Coast to Coast AM, you believe... Let me just make sure I heard you correctly. You don't believe that he drinks, that he eats and that he sleeps? Is that what you said? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
They're ascended masters. They don't have to be here. They come here to teach people, to enlighten people. And Doris Snorri and I think Art Bell might be one. Their blood content is gold. See, they don't have to
Their
be
blood
here.
content is gold? Is that what you just said?
Yes. That's right. You know what? Our content is iron. Their constitution is gold.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Caroline Malone with the Week in Review. US President-elect Donald Trump has named his White House Chief of Staff as he begins appointing his top team. His campaign manager, Susie Wiles, takes the role. As a candidate, the former president vowed to carry out the largest deportation effort in US history. Benji Hire reports.
Donald Trump insists there is no price tag for his mass deportation plan, claiming the United States has, quote, no choice. But his decisive election victory means he has a mandate to try to carry out his vision, having scored record gains even amongst Latino voters, despite him regularly using dehumanizing language about undocumented migrants. Benji Hire, Washington.
The Biden administration says it will work with Trump's team on the transition of power after Tuesday's election. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden accepts the defeat of the Democrats.
The president and the vice president accept the choice the country has made. And because the president has said this many times, you heard him say this, you can't love your country only when you win, and you can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
While election loser Kamala Harris has conceded the US presidential vote and encouraged a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump. It comes after the stunning win by Trump to return him to the White House 4 years after he lost the 2020 election. Harris spoke to supporters at her former university, Howard, in Washington, D.C.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Israel has carried out fresh airstrikes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 40 people were killed in a separate set of strikes in the east of the country. Giles Gibson has more from Tel Aviv.
Video footage from the south of Beirut revealed the aftermath of this latest round of airstrikes, with bombed-out cars and fires still burning inside buildings reduced to rubble. The Israel Defense Forces said Hezbollah had placed weapons stores and operations centers in the area. Meanwhile, the IDF says its strikes in eastern Lebanon also targeted Hezbollah infrastructure. However, the Lebanese government says the operation killed dozens of local residents and damaged a historic building from the Ottoman era. Giles Gibson.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number you can call. 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. Riley and I both have hoodies from there.
We do. I'm not wearing mine tonight because it just got washed, but...
Did you get any t-shirts?
No, just a hoodie.
I really like my hoodie. I have one that doesn't zip, and I'm just like not really drawn to those type of hoodies altogether. Like I feel like everyone prefers those. Like you're wearing one right now. And I like how they look on even myself, but I feel like I just feel so much better with like the ability to just zip it off.
Yeah, I can understand that. Like, I don't care either way. Zip hoodie, non-zip hoodie, it doesn't really matter to me.
I just feel more, I don't know, free or something. I don't even mean that in a libertarian type of way. I mean like I feel
Less
like I have more
restricted.
motion. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, makes
Either
sense.
way, it doesn't matter because there are both types on libertyminded.com.
Yeah.
Where there's the type you just pull over your head and then you have to pull it back off, or the type with a zipper. But we have, the point of Free Talk Live is for you to call 603-283-6160 and talk about what's on your mind. And we have a caller on the line, Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Yes, I was wondering if I'm kind of curious if the Republican Party likes red light cameras.
That's a good question, honestly. But like, I think that they do because they're all rule of law.
Huh? You know what? I figured that. Aren't they always kind of like stricter or harsher? That's what I'm talking about. They'll dish out the sentencing. They're really, going after the criminals. If somebody kills somebody, they're really good about sentencing and doing executions. That's the Republican Party, huh?
Yeah, that's true. They are good at doing executions.
They
still do that
definitely
in, like,
are.
Alabama.
They're the party of, like Sarah said, the party of law and order. We gotta have law and order in this country. All the laws have to be obeyed.
Yeah, so I would think that maybe majority like red light cameras.
Well, I mean, look at the state of Oklahoma. Don't they have executions and they have red light cameras?
I don't know,
and then
honestly.
states like red states like Texas, and they will put you in jail if you tear out one of your speeding camera tickets. They will put you in jail, but that's not everybody. Like Chicago is a blue state, but they got 60 red light cameras, and they will put you in jail if you don't pay or go to court.
Is it Chicago or Illinois that's the blue state?
Illinois is a blue state, but that's Chicago is inside Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, but the point that Riley's trying to make is that Chicago is the big blue area and almost the rest of Illinois is red.
Yeah.
Okay, but it did vote for Kamala though.
Right.
It does. Yeah, but overall there was enough. So, what's the House now? I know the Senate went to the Republicans, and then we got more. The Supreme Court is Republican because they appointed all the conservatives and the Supreme Court. So, but the House, are they still counting the ballots? How is that going to break down?
I don't know.
I've heard that the House and the Senate are both Republican majority.
Oh yeah, this year I'm pretty sure that that's like definitely true, even if some of the races are still being counted or haven't been called yet. I'm pretty sure it's already like a done deal. The House and Senate with the feds are majority Republican this time. I've been hearing like everyone say that. So,
huh? I mean, but is it the coattail thing when people went out to vote for Trump and they followed then they vote like all the Republicans on the ballot also. Isn't that how it goes?
Maybe. One thing that is really interesting is like states like New Hampshire. I don't know if there's another state like this that voted for, well, maybe you just said Illinois, but voted for Kamala Harris for president, but then all of the state stuff was, that was like in state house was like very red. But then they also sent 2 blue or, Democrat senators to the Fed. So a lot of them are just mixed up.
The Fed. Okay.
Yeah, so New Hampshire is just really interesting.
Okay. Yeah. But what about the House though? To the Feds? How did they vote? Do they send Democrat to the House?
Which state? Sorry?
Your state.
Oh, yeah, the House. Actually, I don't know, honestly, off of the top of my head. I didn't really pay very close attention to the House races. I voted in the Senate race for, like, the U.S. Oh, wait, no, the U.S. House race is the one I voted for. I voted for Lily Tang Williams, who is a Republican, but Maggie Goodlander, a Democrat, won. I forgot.
So I guess
Senate.
we do have a Democratic representative.
Yeah, but isn't there two?
Okay.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't vote. I
Yeah.
didn't vote the whole entire thing. I only voted for president, which I voted for Trump. Then I voted for governor, which I voted the Libertarian guy. Then I voted for one local thing, and I voted for Lily Tang Williams, and that was it. I left the rest blank.
Yeah. I don't think I voted. Well, I voted and didn't leave anything else blank. I did write Ian Freeman on one thing, but I don't remember what it was.
I wish I remembered to do that. I did that for the primaries. I wrote Ian Freeman just because it would irritate the local people so much to see it, and it'd be funny.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to maybe. I never wrote a letter to the president, a written letter, but I think I'm going to do it this year because I've never done it before. But I think all this letter writing, it eventually pans out. You know, because there was a smoking inside a casino on the reservation here, the Sandia Casino. They did have a non-smoking section, which was like a little tiny room that was non-smoking, and all of the rest was smoking. So I really thought I was just wasting my time and stamp writing a letter about the smoking. And I called them. And what happened is that like 7 years later, they banned smoking in all of the casinos on the Navajo reservation. I think that was it.
So you're saying that you had a hand in banning smoking on the reservation?
Right, and the casinos. They threw them all out. It took them like
That's
7
shocking.
to 10 years. So, but you know, all the activism, it does pay off eventually. You know what I mean?
Wait,
And
who exactly banned it? Like the managers decided they're going to take it out of their policy, or like a governmental body stopped them from having cigarettes?
the governmental body,
Whoa.
all of the Navajo, I think his name was Nez. Jonathan Nez was the president of the Navajo Nation. And I never knew that there was people working on it. There was people, but after they did it, it's like, we were working on this. Like, I never knew there was people trying to ban smoking from the casinos when I was writing or advocate. I had no clue. But they said we were working on this for many years. But I just happened to be like the fan to the flame. And I thought my efforts were just a waste of time. But I thought, why not? You know, and I talked to the girl at the hotel. I said, you have commercials. You spend a lot of money on advertisement. You want the customers to be at your casinos. But you know what? Everybody's smoking in there. I'm gagging. I can't even go there to eat. I don't gamble, but I want to go to the restaurant. Maybe, go to a spa or something. Go to the entertainment. But I can't breathe.
So strange, Sarah, because I just don't understand. You can eat that. You could eat anywhere. You can eat somewhere that doesn't have smoking, like every other restaurant in New Mexico. I just don't understand, because I liked to go to the casinos once in the blue moon, bring a certain amount of money, and play with it and lose it all. It didn't matter, because then I just stopped myself after that, and it was always like $40. But it was such a fun night. They like bring you out alcohol for free. You can smoke in there. So like even when I wasn't a smoker, because I was like on and off for a while, even when I wasn't a smoker, I would buy these skinny cigarettes called Capris and smoke them inside, because it's the only place to smoke inside, and it felt so old-fashioned and fun. But anyways, I don't have much to say about that. It's kind of sad that they had to be individual owners were forced to end smoking in their casinos. Anyways, we have a caller on the line, Dave Ridley from New Hampshire. Dave Ridley, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Have you guys ever heard of Jason Lowry?
No.
That name sounds familiar to me.
Did he make Lowry's the seasoning?
Jason Lowry, he's a mid-ranking officer in the U.S. Air Force who has proposed a thing he calls soft war. He is a Bitcoiner, and he's been given some kind of power inside the federal government to investigate whether or not the federal government could win wars by simply acquiring Bitcoin as opposed to going kinetic. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not really winning a war in the traditional sense, and I don't fully understand what he's advocating, but he's a true believer, a true Bitcoin believer. so much so that he choked up about it while he was talking about it in one of the interviews. He was talking about how he feels they are so close to getting to a point where they can make kinetic war obsolete. That's what he believes.
Interesting.
Because of Bitcoin?
I think if I understand correctly, his concept is that you sort of conquer Bitcoin territory, you conquer digital territory by simply acquiring Bitcoin, kind of like the same way you would acquire land. He thinks of it as property, digital property, I guess. And so, of course, war is often fought to gain control over land. In the same way, he basically wants the U.S. government, or maybe the U.S. military, to acquire as much Bitcoin as it can before China does, I guess.
Wow. I don't know. I feel like if that was some way to end warfare, it'd be a pretty good thing. A lot of times I think of like governments owning Bitcoin as a creepy, weird thing I don't really like.
I don't like the idea of them buying anything with my money.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also, if you look historically, there have been attempts over the millennia, I guess, to do something technologically that makes war more humane. For example, the guillotine was designed to help reduce the use of drawing and quartering and other slow death methods. But the guillotine, of course, wound up being used to slaughter many thousands of French people during and after the French Revolution, mostly after, I guess.
Well, I don't know.
So,
I feel like in a kind of utilitarian way, and maybe if it would end wars, it'd be a net good for government to buy Bitcoin. But I also think if they like put any kind of support into Bitcoin, it's just like going to eventually cause them to collapse anyway. So it might be a really, really, really good thing.
I guess the takeaway here, obviously, Trump in office, with him claiming to want to end wars and claiming to want to, gain things without going kinetic and being kind of pro-Bitcoin, these two being in the same room might be a really good thing. And this is probably one guy, hopefully from the last administration, that Trump does not fire.
Hopefully.
Anything else?
Again, his name is Jason Lowery, and his concept is called soft war. If you just Google Jason Lowery soft war, you can learn more than you learned from me.
Yeah, that might be something interesting. I feel like I just need to learn more about what he's saying here. Might be something interesting to actually look up. So Jason Lowery, I'm going to put that in the show notes too, so if people want to go look that up. Anything else for us, Dave Ridley?
That is all.
Oh, and I was on Dave's podcast. I don't know if you've posted it yet, but Dave is doing a podcast. I assume you can find it at ridleyreport.com, right?
That will probably air in a few days.
Nice. And that's where it can be found at that website?
RidleyReport.com, that's correct.
Nice. So if anybody wants to listen to his podcast, go to RidleyReport.com, and in a few days he's posting the conversation he had with me, talking a lot about like Ian, what's happening with Ian, like what is currently going on with him, and just like a lot of different stuff concerning Ian. So thanks so much for having me on there too. It was fun conversation.
It was. Thanks, folks.
All right. Thank you for your call. And that number is 603-283-6160 for anybody who wants to call in with whatever is on their minds. And Riley, you brought this article into the show tonight that says, federal judge rules Illinois assault weapons ban unconstitutional. Sounds like it's only a good thing.
It sounds like a good thing to me. I mean, any ban on guns is definitely a bad idea because, you can't stop guns from being created. You can't stop guns from being manufactured, even used. It doesn't matter how many words you want to write on a magical piece of paper. You're not going to stop people from acquiring guns or using guns. The law cannot be in your bedroom at night. If a robber comes in and has a gun, it doesn't matter how strong the law is. You can't stop the robber from robbing you at gunpoint.
Yep. I think that it seemed to me. I think that I've said this before, that the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is probably just the most important one. Like, you don't have all of the other ones without the right to defend yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, if the United States government voted tomorrow to ban guns, which it won't, I mean, especially with Trump in charge, if they voted tomorrow to ban guns, you can't defend your right to free speech, the exercise of religion, or anything like that, because you're defenseless against their power.
Yep. Somebody said to Lily Tang Williams in a debate, the somebody being David Hogg, I think is his name. He's a guy that was in a school shooting allegedly, because like some people say that there's actually not proof he was in the school when it happened, but
I'll just say that he
famous
was
for it. Yeah, he's all famous for being in that school shooting, and he was in a debate with Lily Tang Williams, and at one point he says to her, "We can't guarantee that any government won't become tyrannical." And her response was, "Well, then the gun control debate is over."
Yes, absolutely, because if you can't guarantee that a government won't become tyrannical, then you might as well have guns to protect yourself.
You need guns to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
So, this is from CBS News. It says, a federal judge in downstate Illinois has ruled the state's ban on assault weapons is unconstitutional, but will hold off on prohibiting the state from enforcing it for 1 month to allow for a likely appeal. Hold off from prohibiting, I see. So maybe this will tell us more about what the law actually said or did, because I am not aware of what it does, except obviously ban assault rifles like it says, but let's see. The Protect Illinois Communities Act bans the sale of assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines and requires existing owners of those weapons to register them with the Illinois State Police. The legislation, signed into law January 2023, banned dozens of specific brands or types of rifles and handguns, 50 caliber guns, attachments, and rapid firing devices. No rifle will be allowed to accommodate more than 10 rounds, with a 15-round limit for handguns. As part of his ruling that the assault weapons ban is unconstitutional, McGlynn issued a permanent injunction prohibiting enforcement of the ban, but he stayed that injunction for 30 days to give the state time to file an appeal. Gun control laws have come under renewed scrutiny in the wake of the Supreme Court's June 2022 decision that imposed a new framework for evaluating the constitutionality of gun restrictions. In that ruling, the court said that for firearms laws to comply with the Second Amendment, the government must identify historical analogs that show the measure is consistent with the nation's history and tradition of firearms regulation. Wow. There were so many good things that happened with the Supreme Court concerning guns in like 2022. A bunch of it was just over my head. It was great to have Matt Roach on the show from time to time, because he was like really closely following that stuff and just deciphering it all.
We should have him on the show again sometime. He's cool.
It'd be so great to have either of them back on the show.
Yeah.
But they're really busy because they had a baby. Like, they're so busy. Like, sometimes I've just invited them to like social Sundays and stuff, and they're like just always busy.
Yeah.
It's just what happens when you have a newborn baby.
Yeah, I've never had kids. I don't intend to have kids. I don't think Alana intends to have kids either. So, yeah, I can imagine having a newborn is relatively busy, and my siblings have had kids, and I can sympathize.
Yep. I have had like babies be born and live in my house, so like I've definitely seen it very close up, aka my mom having babies when I was already like an older teenager. So yeah, I've seen them really close up, and like there's just no way people are gonna want to be like, yeah, I'm gonna leave my newborn for like 4 hours and come do the show, or just like not get irritated with each other for like slacking off, and like not that it would be slacking off, but like leaving them to deal with it for hours. Like I totally understand them needing to take a long break. I was sad whenever they had to stop being on the show. Well, Matt wasn't on like consistently, but Nikki was on more than anyone else for a while, like weekly. She was like the person on the show more than anyone else every week for a really long time, like months or maybe even a year.
Yeah, she was fun to do a show with.
And I just loved doing the show with Nikki. She was like one of my favorite people to do a show with. That was like, if somebody was like calling off, it was just going to be me and Nikki, I would be like, oh, it's totally fine. We can handle it. Like, never worried about having enough hosts and stuff. And I do feel the same way about you, Riley. Like, I really appreciate that you're always like wanting to do the show.
I like Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live has been a huge part of my life, and I enjoyed being on the show.
And clearly, you're capable of being on with like just you and me. Some people, I feel like I have to talk a whole lot, but
yeah.
Back to this article. It says that McGlynn sided with plaintiffs who argued the Illinois assault weapons ban does not fit within the Supreme Court's framework. I mean, like, what historical tradition of firearms regulation could anybody point to say that they're gonna, restrict certain types of guns, like guns that are able to protect you just more? I mean, that's the best way to put it, that the guns that can do more damage to somebody who's trying to harm you. It's like the way the guns are supposed to be used as self-defense.
Yeah. And I think the people that want to ban assault rifles have it in their mind that, these are the most dangerous guns in the world. We got to ban them. And yet, handguns are involved more in school shootings and things like that. So their anger and ire is misdirected as they're trying to ban things because, prohibition never works. Like I said earlier, the law can't be in your bedroom at night. And, it's easier nowadays. It's more easy to manufacture a gun because we have 3D printing. We can 3D print guns. The plans are out there to 3D print guns. And so it's easier than any time in history to create a gun and use a gun in a shooting. And Captain Kickass has said on the show that if someone wants to kill somebody, they're going to find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wouldn't have to be just a gun. And also the other thing about it is that, like, they act like there's no reason to have an assault rifle unless you want to just shoot into a random crowd of people and kill lots of people. There could be, like, a huge group of people coming to storm your house, like, big mob coming to kill you. There's totally reasons to have more than, 6 shots in a revolver that you have to defend yourself with. It's just ridiculous.
The other thing, too, is that people love to think that, if you just make enough laws, the society will be less violent. And that's not the case at all. I mean, you can have the most gun laws in the world and ban any kind of weapon you can think of, but people are still going to be violent. If you want a less violent society, maybe teach less violence. Maybe teach people how to regulate their emotions or come up with a better way to teach people how to be better human beings and demand that they do so by law, because laws never work.
They don't work. The thing about it is, like, that there's so much gun violence in Chicago right now. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows about that. And apparently there's a law there that does this, like, tries to ban people from banning guns. And it's just obvious that it doesn't work. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that people need their rights to defend themselves, and I'm glad that this thing got overturned. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealestate.com
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Caroline Malone with the Week in Review. US President-elect Donald Trump has named his White House Chief of Staff as he begins appointing his top team. His campaign manager, Susie Wiles, takes the role. As a candidate, the former president vowed to carry out the largest deportation effort in US history. Benji Hire reports.
Donald Trump insists there is no price tag for his mass deportation plan, claiming the United States has, quote, no choice. But his decisive election victory means he has a mandate to try to carry out his vision, having scored record gains even amongst Latino voters, despite him regularly using dehumanizing language about undocumented migrants. Benji Hire, Washington.
The Biden administration says it will work with Trump's team on the transition of power after Tuesday's election. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden accepts the defeat of the Democrats.
The president and the vice president accept the choice the country has made. And because the president has said this many times, you heard him say this, you can't love your country only when you win, and you can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
While election loser Kamala Harris has conceded the US presidential vote and encouraged a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump. It comes after the stunning win by Trump to return him to the White House 4 years after he lost the 2020 election. Harris spoke to supporters at her former university, Howard, in Washington, D.C.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Israel has carried out fresh airstrikes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 40 people were killed in a separate set of strikes in the east of the country. Giles Gibson has more from Tel Aviv.
Video footage from the south of Beirut revealed the aftermath of this latest round of airstrikes, with bombed-out cars and fires still burning inside buildings reduced to rubble. The Israel Defense Forces said Hezbollah had placed weapons stores and operations centers in the area. Meanwhile, the IDF says its strikes in eastern Lebanon also targeted Hezbollah infrastructure. However, the Lebanese government says the operation killed dozens of local residents and damaged a historic building from the Ottoman era. Giles Gibson, Tel Aviv.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Israel's foreign minister is travelling to the Netherlands for talks after Israeli football fans were caught up in violent clashes in Amsterdam. The Dutch Prime Minister has described them as anti-Semitic attacks, with 62 people arrested by local police. Here's more from Giles Gibson.
Fans of the Maccabi Tel Aviv football team travelled to Amsterdam for a match against the Dutch heavyweights Ajax. But after the final whistle, violent scenes broke out in the city centre. Videos on social media show groups of men running and clashing in the streets, with anti-Israeli slogans being shouted. Other footage appears to show visiting fans pulling down a Palestinian flag carried by a group of protesters. After initially planning to send 2 military planes to collect fans, the Israeli government said a professional rescue operation would not be necessary. Giles Gibson, Tel Aviv.
And Germany's three-party coalition government has collapsed after a falling out between the Chancellor and Finance Minister. It means Berlin is now on course for early elections. Trent Murray has the details.
In a late-night press conference, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said he had fired his finance minister Christian Lindner because he had broken his trust. Lindner, from the pro-business FDP party, had called for drastic changes to help Germany's struggling economy, but his suggestions of policies like big corporate tax cuts didn't align with Scholz's own left-wing Social Democrats and the Green Party, and so the three-party coalition came crashing down. The departure of the FDP now means Scholz doesn't have a majority in Parliament. He has agreed to hold a confidence vote on January 15th in his chancellorship. It's expected he will indeed lose that vote, paving the way for an early election mid-March. Trent Murray, Brussels.
I'm Caroline Malone in Washington, and that was the Week in Review.
This week, badly shaken researchers reported observing an osprey stalking, killing, and devouring an adult male lion in what is being called a massive food chain shakeup. Confirmation of the 3-pound marine bird consuming the 400-pound feline has biologists scrambling to determine the new predator-prey connections between the planet's billions of organisms.
We seem to be experiencing some sort of cross-species dietary free-for-all.
Scientists say that the killing of the healthy, full-grown lion by a typical osprey specimen has lent credibility to recent reports of a deer seen grazing on a nest of squirrels in Wisconsin, as well as a claim made by a group of Japanese fishermen who say they witnessed 300 million krill devouring a 40-ton humpback whale. In other news, NASA acquires the moon for an upcoming Kennedy Space Center exhibit. A radio DJ invites the whole town to some bullshit, and assuming the many universes theory of quantum mechanics is accurate, the review you've just seen will remain relevant in another reality for all eternity. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And I'd like to thank Steve for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Steve went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to Steve and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. And thanks so much to Steve. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Riley.
And we already have a caller on the line, so let's go to the phones and to the fun. We have Dodger in Michigan on Free Talk Live. Dodger, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
I've meant to call about this before, but roughly a month ago, there was a guy that was on a roller coaster in Ohio. He had his cell phone in his pocket, and his insurance score got downgraded.
For losing his phone?
No. Essentially, because his cell phone, I guess this goes to the privacy thing, because he had an app on his phone for his car insurance that essentially tracked his driving.
Oh, I thought you were saying that the phone flew out of his pocket.
No.
But... Wow, that's hilarious. So it thought he was speeding by a lot, probably.
That's funny.
His insurance score dropped significantly after riding this roller coaster. It's called Son of Beast in Kings Island. You guys, just to refresh my mind, I pulled up the story. But yeah, so he carried his cell phone onto the roller coaster. And with all of the speed and tight turns and all of that, he gets a statement in the mail from his insurance company saying that his insurance score was downgraded because Yes, they thought he was driving.
Wow, I thought that
that's a funny story. I mean, it's also a sad story that a roller coaster could be mistaken for reckless driving.
What another thing that's confusing about it is I quickly looked up how fast it goes, and this says that the Beast reaches speeds of up to about 65 miles per hour. I just would have thought it goes to like 100 miles per hour or something. I don't know. I just kind of like assumed a roller coaster is faster than a car, but why would it care that he went 60 miles an hour?
From what I read, it's not just the speed; it's like turns.
Wow!
Like I'm a roller coaster guy. Like I go to amusement parks every year. I love roller coasters, but like it's the sharp turns and.
I just realized that's what it says here. It says that it incorrectly assessed his cornering and braking, so it's like as if he took a turn like without slowing down at all. That's so funny, but also really scary.
And it just kind of goes to show. I mean, actually, I had for my insurance, I actually had an app on my phone. When I read that story, I uninstalled that app immediately because it's like, I mean, really, I have a cousin that told me that. Sometimes he'd be driving like on a road that's adjacent to a freeway, and he'll be on the freeway, but it's registering him being on the road on the side of the freeway, saying that he's going twice the speed limit, type of thing. And so I don't know. I just I figured I'd call and just bring that up.
Thanks for sharing that story. I just find it. I wonder how that man's going to fight the.
And thank you for calling.
I wonder how that man's going to fight this, or is he going to fight this? Is he going to say, "Oh, I was on a roller coaster," and your app doesn't calculate for that? So.
This article in front of me doesn't say that how the insurance company like responded, like as in did he appeal and did they respond? This specific one in front of me, but it's possible that something somewhere on the internet tells us, but I'm not going to keep looking right now while we're doing the show. But that is a really like not only like just a funny story. I'm sorry, it's funny, but also like kind of enlightening about how these things work.
Yeah,
I can't believe that they're actually like monitoring people that closely where they can tell how fast you take turns and stuff. Like I wouldn't want anybody to be watching me that closely, but I understand that they get kind of incentivized by like, oh, you can like save money. I think it is like if you're a safe driver, your insurance prices can go down, so they get incentivized.
Yeah, there definitely is incentive to have some way to monitor how you're driving so you can get lower insurance prices. But, this app on your phone may not be the best way, because what if, like this caller, like Dodger brought up, what if someone wants to go ride a roller coaster and all of a sudden they're speeding around turns and dropping and flipping upside down, and all of a sudden the app is saying, oh, this guy's a reckless driver. We gotta lower his score.
That's a really good point, because shouldn't it have just like flagged someone immediately when, like, if it's as sensitive enough to tell that somebody's like not putting on their brakes while taking a turn, how could it not tell if he was like going upside down or just different things that cars can't even do?
I don't know. It's just.
That's pretty funny.
It is pretty funny, but also really sad that we've become so reliant on an app on our phone just to score us on our insurance when there could be more reliable ways to do that.
Oh, I have talked a lot about how I won't use smart appliances, and like I see no reason for them, but I did get one. Do you want to know what it was?
A smart light bulb?
Yes. How did you know that?
Just a guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, did I already talk about it? Yeah, I got a smart light bulb because I got like a bedside table and a lamp, and it is life-changing because like my bed just didn't have a bedside table for the longest time, and sometimes I'd said something about it to Ian, but it was never like my number one project I wanted to work on. Not that it was like a project. I just went to Target, bought a bedside table, like a super simple one that does have a drawer and a lamp from Target also. And while I was at it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a smart light bulb because it's not like they can like listen to me with it. It'll just be connected to my phone with an app, which probably could have some privacy issues, the app itself, but like probably most of the apps I do. In fact, I have to have, it's like when you're dealing with the feds, half the time you start to like lower your like privacy requirements because you literally already have a Fed app downloaded onto your phone to email your husband.
Yeah.
So
I can understand that. I can understand, the desire to lower your privacy concerns, like maybe not use Signal or Telegram as much, because you already have this Fed app on your phone. Who knows what they're getting from you? You just
I still do a lot of stuff to,
right.
care about my privacy, maybe more than the average person, but less than like the most like obsessed with OPSEC libertarian.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But yeah, I got the light bulb because I can turn it different colors. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to turn my light bulb red at night, and it's so nice. It makes me so tired. Like I leave it red as I'm like getting into bed and like choosing my outfit for the next day and stuff like that. I just have to walk around my room doing a bunch of stuff like right before I go to bed and grab all my things, walk around the house with my pepper spray to make sure there's no bad guys.
Uh-huh.
And like I leave the light bulb red at that time, and it makes me so sleepy. And then like sometimes I just change it different colors throughout the day for fun. It can even like, I can click on a different mood they have. Like if I clicked romantic, it would be like going from like purple to red, like slowly, stuff like that. There's all different quote unquote moods you can put it on. So I love it. And I don't care that my light bulb is connected to my phone.
Well, I'm glad you're entering the crazy world of getting smart technology.
But I'm not going to do something like it. I just have no interest in an Alexa or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, I can Google things. I even don't have Siri on my iPhone. Like, I could totally have Siri on my iPhone if I wanted to say, like, hey, Siri, what is the answer to blah, blah, blah? And there's proof that I don't have it on my iPhone because it would have totally just beeped just now.
Yeah. I actually I still use Siri a little bit on my phone, but also I disabled Hey Siri because I don't want my phone to have to listen to the wake word and be activated if someone says, hey Siri.
Yeah, that really irritated me a lot too. But I actually, like back when I used to use it in like early 2020, I used it all the time, especially when driving to work, to the point that I thought, no, like I can't get rid of this. I can't like live without it. And then I just did, and I just have. See what I mean? Like a lot of times it's like some kind of luxury that it would be good for you to get rid of for whatever reason, like in this case, privacy. Whenever you think about getting rid of it, you're like, but I couldn't live without. And when you just do,
it's amazing. It's amazing what you can live without when you have to. Like, for me, when I moved to New Hampshire, there were some things I had to live without, like, gas stoves. Like, I've always had a gas stove. Well, maybe not always, but, for a long time in my life, I've always had a gas stove.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have an electric stove that I have to use, and I don't know if I like electric stove as much as gas. But
yeah, I've always heard, the thing is, like, I lived in a house with gas once, with my parents, but I wasn't, like, as into cooking back then. Like, I kind of felt like I liked cooking, but I've learned so much more about cooking now that I've lived, by myself and / with Ian, because he loves my cooking.
Uh-huh. That's good. At least he loves his wife's cooking.
Yep, he
That's
does.
important.
Ian is very easy to please. But anyways, I've heard that they're better in some ways. Like, you can like be more able to, what's the word, like control the heat and etc. But I don't know. It's just like, I'm sure that is true. I'm sure it's true. But I just don't know what more I'd really want. Like, I have an electric stove. It's not like I'm ever like, oh, I can't control the heat enough. Like, seems fine. But maybe it would be so life-changing if I had a gas stove. I'd be like, oh, how do I ever live without this? I don't know, but I believe people when they say that. It always seems like smart people are the ones that are saying that. And the other thing is, I don't know, maybe it's more like independence-minded to have a gas stove, because like if the grid goes down, I'm pretty sure you could still easily use it.
Oh yeah, and having an electric stove if the grid goes down is always a problem. Especially for me, since I don't know how to. I mean, I could light a fire if I had to, but I'd rather not because I'm not very good at it. I don't have a lot of practice lighting a fire as a blind person, so until I get that kind of training and confidence in my skills, I'm not going to be lighting a fire just to cook.
Yeah, and that always creeped me out, the fact that the thing is with a gas stove, usually they have something called, I can't remember what it's called, the starter, you just held it on one button for a while until you hear this click, 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 and then it lights. But I know that people can literally also light it with a match.
Yep, they can.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have super strong opinions on that. I really do want to get incandescent light bulbs, but Ian is kind of against them because Ian likes to save money, and he says that LEDs use less money, don't use as give you a higher electric bill, basically.
Yeah, they definitely use a lot less electricity, that's for sure.
Somebody made a point the other day on Twitter, I think it was Jeremy Kaufman arguing with someone, and he was saying that if you use them to light your house, then they don't, warm your house, then they don't cost more money. And I was like, that is a really good point. I've been since I moved to New Hampshire, so much more able to live with my house being cold and just put socks and jackets and stuff on. I don't know why I used to think that was impossible.
It sounds like you've been adapting. It's a struggle for me because I'm used to living in a desert and I can warm my house a little bit. But here, it gets pretty cold.
Yeah, I used to argue with Ian when I first moved here. Not argue, but when I first moved here, a lot of times I'd be I'm cold. What can we do about this, Ian? And he'd be you can put on a jacket. And I'd be no, that doesn't do anything. I don't know why I really truly believe that. I'm wearing a jacket right now. And it's just I used to think that, I don't know how to explain it, that jackets kind of kept you warm in an extreme, you're outside type of situation. But if you just wore one inside the house, it sounds so dumb. Honestly, it sounds kind of dumb, but that's what being from Texas is like.
Yeah.
Not that I never lived anywhere cold. I lived in Utah, but honestly, I didn't understand how to live in summer cold even the whole time I lived in Utah. I just hated it so much. I never adapted. But now I honestly do like the seasons so much more in New Hampshire because it feels more like you have 4 seasons and it's kind of entertaining. It's almost that there's something always going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It feels like there's a bit of change always happening. In Utah, especially southern Utah, we'd have a kind of winter. It's a very mild winter. It feels like a fall here in New Hampshire. Temperatures are usually lower to mid-50s, maybe sometimes in the lower 60s.
Wow.
During the winter months, February, March, it starts to warm up, and then April, you're starting to get in the lower 80s sometimes. Around April 20th especially, you'd be in the lower 80s.
Wow. That seems impossible now that I've lived in New Hampshire for 4 years,
yeah.
But yeah.
It's definitely different living here in New Hampshire and committing to living in a place that has 4 seasons, because then you get to experience all the 4 seasons, fall, winter, summer, the spring, and all the fun things that come with it.
In northern Utah, it's so different than southern Utah then, because in northern Utah, it felt like there was just summer and winter, serious winter, worse winter than here in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But it was kind of annoying because spring felt short and, but it was still beautiful while it lasted. And then fall kind of didn't exist. It felt like all of a sudden it was winter and everything was dead around you. And there was gray skies.
My oldest sister and I were talking yesterday about this, and she was it dropped from 80 to 40.
Whoa, she lives in northern Utah?
She lives in northern Utah.
Yeah, I felt all fall and winter, Salt Lake City is just a big concrete, ugly, depressing place to be.
Yeah.
Obviously there's concrete in your eyes that are gray, and then the sky is overcast and gray the whole entire time, and then suddenly it's spring and it's summer and it's, oh my god, it's such a beautiful city, especially in I think this place called Holiday.
There's a place called Holiday,
but it's a little segment of Salt Lake. Oh my god, that is such a beautiful part of a city. If I had to live in a city, that'd be definitely in America, that'd be a contender, because that area is so pretty, hills, and then all of a sudden you're on a mountain and there's green everywhere too. It's really nice. Anyways, we live in New Hampshire because we're here for the Free State Project, and luckily there are a lot of things to like about it.
For sure. Coming here to New Hampshire has been, a little different. I've had to learn how to get around differently. It's different not having family here to support me, but I've had friends like Mr. Penguin teach me how to get to downtown Keene, so it's been nice.
Are you still practicing that like weekly?
Not like I should. I'd like to practice it more. So since you live close by, we should practice that route more.
Yeah, honestly, we should just go on walks too. And I don't know if you want to practice that walk every single time, but I go on just different walks, different areas around the neighborhood in general.
Okay, we can definitely practice some walks.
I feel like we've talked about that a lot, but it's just like, no, I don't know. This is like a common thing with people where you like keep making the same plan that just never happens.
So I'll have to follow up with you then and keep you accountable.
Yeah, you can take walks with me and Coconut. Me and Coconut like walk every single day, and actually I've been like really upping my step count for a while there.
Oh, nice.
I was just like getting really stagnant, like sitting in my house all the time, and I set a goal on this step app, and that's another thing I started letting it track me with. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I allowed my phone to track me for that, but I got a specific app just because it's so much better. I could like set in a goal, and honestly got like confused with trying to figure out the health app that it like already exists on iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have that.
I do have the health app. Yeah. I just don't ever use it.
I had like disabled everything on it, and I think I kind of broke it by doing that because it was just like, I can't just make it do what I want it to do anymore. Anyways, I'm also just like not, oh my god, I'm not an expert with phones. Like, I thought that my Wi-Fi was broken earlier this week, and I had Michael Gordon come over and look at it. I don't really know why it says first and last name. He's done the show before, but anyways.
Yeah.
That's just like, there are some people in your lives that you always say their first and last names. I don't know why. Like actually when we said Matt Roach earlier, I was kind of like, why did I do that? But there's just people in your lives you use both for whatever reason. There's even a friend I have that we only call him by his last name. But anyways, what was I gonna say about it? So he came over and was trying to help me figure out what was wrong with my Wi-Fi. Nothing was wrong with my Wi-Fi at all. And my phone just was trying to tell me that it needs an update, but I had too many pictures on my phone. So, oh my god, I'm still dealing with it. Still trying to delete pictures. So that way I can do the update and then my phone works in. But I'm so happy there's nothing wrong with my Wi-Fi. I'm also so happy that there are so many people that I can reach out to for help when stuff like that Ian could fix or figure out in like a second.
Yeah, it's really nice that we have a very robust, liberty-minded community here because, community is hard to come by. I mean, one thing that I've noticed is that I've missed the community that I've had in Utah, like religious community. Mm-hmm. But leaving a religion is a hard transition, and coming to New Hampshire, I thought, I could just jettison Mormonism and be fine. But yet, recently I reconnected with the Mormons here in Keene, and it's been nice to have that familiar cultural experience of attending a religious service that was familiar to me and feeling that community support instead of just going to be like, oh, someone's going to preach at me. Because when I showed up there, I was telling people that I'm just here for community. I'm not here to be preached at. So it was just really nice to connect with a familiar cultural experience rather than a religious one.
That's really nice. Were you going to the actual sermons then, or just like the kind of like Wednesday things? I don't
know if they do any Wednesday things, but I went to church on Sunday, and I'll probably go again this week too.
So I guess what my question was more, are you going to like a men's group, or are you going to the actual like everyone together in the sanctuary
I'm
sermons?
going to the actual everyone together meeting.
Interesting.
So
yeah, sometimes I miss stuff like that, and actually got Ian to go with me to the Christian Science church here in Keene, and it was just because like I had found Mary Baker Eddy's I forget what the heck it's called, her book that like sect of Christianity is based on. Mm-hmm. I just can't remember what it's called all of a sudden, and I used to know. But and I really was interested in it, but the thing I couldn't get behind, first of all, the church service, like Ian was not interested in going back because apparently there's an edict with them where they can't give like their own sermons with their own ideas of like, what does this part of the Bible mean? No. They can only read what Mary Baker Eddy already wrote, so it was definitely cultish, and I thought it was so
cultish,
strange.
Yeah, it's really strange.
And it was like a lot less interesting because I wanted to go and be like, what do other people think about this? But like, you don't get that. You get read to. But anyways, 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. Bring up whatever is on your mind. More coming up.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their Chainlocks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Caroline Malone with the Week in Review. US President-elect Donald Trump has named his White House Chief of Staff as he begins appointing his top team. His campaign manager, Susie Wiles, takes the role. As a candidate, the former president vowed to carry out the largest deportation effort in US history. Benji Hire reports.
Donald Trump insists there is no price tag for his mass deportation plan, claiming the United States has, quote, no choice. But his decisive election victory means he has a mandate to try to carry out his vision, having scored record gains even amongst Latino voters, despite him regularly using dehumanizing language about undocumented migrants. Benji Hire, Washington.
The Biden administration says it will work with Trump's team on the transition of power after Tuesday's election. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden accepts the defeat of the Democrats.
The president and the vice president accept the choice the country has made. And because the president has said this many times, you heard him say this, you can't love your country only when you win, and you can't love your neighbor only when you agree.
While election loser Kamala Harris has conceded the US presidential vote and encouraged a peaceful transfer of power to Donald Trump. It comes after the stunning win by Trump to return him to the White House 4 years after he lost the 2020 election. Harris spoke to supporters at her former university, Howard, in Washington, D.C.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Israel has carried out fresh airstrikes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 40 people were killed in a separate set of strikes in the east of the country. Giles Gibson has more from Tel Aviv.
Video footage from the south of Beirut revealed the aftermath of this latest round of airstrikes, with bombed-out cars and fires still burning inside buildings reduced to rubble. The Israel Defense Forces said Hezbollah had placed weapons stores and operations centers in the area. Meanwhile, the IDF says its strikes in eastern Lebanon also targeted Hezbollah infrastructure. However, the Lebanese government says the operation killed dozens of local residents and damaged a historic building from the Ottoman era. Giles Gibson.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. That's 603-283-6160. All of our chronic callers have called for the night, so if you want to get in on the air, there is room for you. 603-283-6160. And we've been podcasting since podcasts began, but we're launching a new podcast anyway. Our new podcast is 30 to 45 minutes long and releasing once a week. You can find it at freetalkcast.com. It's brought to you by the same people who bring you Free Talk Live, and we'd love for you to check it out. The existing radio archive isn't going anywhere. This is just a new show designed from the start to be a podcast. So check it out at freetalkcast.com. And with you on Free Talk Live, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Riley.
And we, maybe 2 segments ago, talked about this story about a federal judge saying that Illinois' law banning assault weapons was unconstitutional. I wanted to read what Mick Glynn, the federal judge, was he the federal judge? Because is there even a, so U.S. district judge. Okay, so it wasn't like Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's a district judge.
Yeah, for some reason, like, missed that one little detail. Well, I wanted to read what he said about it, why he did it, why he made this decision. Why do we protect ourselves with firearms? In life, we face many perils, he wrote. Too often, the perils we face are forced upon us by other people. By people who are negligent, reckless, insane, that's what happened to me, impaired, or even evil. That's when the FBI raids your house for no reason.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sometimes it is the proverbial lone wolf. Sometimes it is the whole wolf pack. Truly, life comes at you quickly, and who comes to our aid in times of peril? Sometimes is the police or the first responders, it is the police or the first responders. Other times it is healthcare professionals, and sometimes it is family, friends, and neighbors. Sometimes it is no one. But, I mean, that means it could be yourself. Yeah. And he's making the point that sometimes you need to defend yourself, and you don't just need a couple bullets. Sometimes you need a lot. So, yeah, it's a really good point to make there.
Yeah, and people need to realize that, just because someone says, oh, well, you don't need X, Y, or Z, doesn't give them the right to tell you they can't have X, Y, or Z. And for this example, if someone says that you can't have a clip with 50 rounds available in it, then we should ban it. No, you can't do that. You can't tell people what they do and do not need.
And that's a huge thing that people should point out every time someone says, like, oh, you don't need that for hunting. There are lots of things that people can own and not need. Like, people have collections. Like, yeah. Why bother yourself worrying about what other people have?
Exactly.
So this is the Gun Rights and Gun Control Advocates React. Dan Eldridge was one of the plaintiffs who argued that assault-style weapons banned under Illinois law are commonly used for self-defense purposes. Quote, Illinois does not want to become the test case that shows all of these state so-called assault weapon bans are unconstitutional, unquote. That was Dan Eldridge, president of the Firearm Licensees of Illinois. Eldridge said the judge simply decided the Illinois law ran afoul of the U.S. Constitution. This trial was on the merits of the case, he said, and he found in our favor and found that PICA's, I'm not sure what that is, assault weapons ban, and he keeps putting it in quotes, assault weapon. He puts that in quotes because I know that a lot of people say that doesn't mean anything, and I kind of forgot to point that out. What is an assault weapon? Like, you can call anything an assault something. I could, if I stabbed Riley with this pen, it would be an assault
as an assault weapon or assault pen, yeah.
So like he's putting in quotes just to like explain, like point out the absurdity of using that term, I guess. That's what I'm gathering from his quotation marks.
I think the PICA is in reference to the act that was passed recently.
Oh yeah, it's called like Protect Illinois Communities Act.
Yeah.
Yeah, communities, yeah. So he said this trial was on the merits of the case, and he found in our favor and found that PICA's assault weapons ban is unconstitutional under the 2nd and 14th Amendments. Rachel Jacoby of Highland Park was in Springfield on January 10th, 2023, the day Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the ban into law, representing her community. It was July 4th, 2022, when a man with a high-powered rifle opened fire on an Independence Day parade in Highland Park and killed 7 people. She said this ruling that they called the assault weapons ban unconstitutional is a slap in the face to every single person in Illinois who's been afflicted by gun violence. And you know what honestly pisses me off when people who want gun control talk about gun violence?
Mm-hmm.
If you control, or if you ban the average person from having guns and only have and you want only cops to have guns, it's so offensive to people who have been afflicted by state violence like me.
Yeah, and essentially what they're saying is they don't care that the government is going to be the gun owners because they think that the government's going to keep them safe. Well, remember, ladies and gentlemen, the Supreme Court has ruled time and time again that the police are not obligated to protect you. Remember that. The police are not obligated to protect you. So, if you're not able to protect yourself, if someone comes into your house and wants, in the case of a woman, if someone comes into your house with a gun and wants to rape you, the police are going to be minutes away. What are you going to do? Shoot them? Or are you just going to lay there and take it? I don't think you should lay there and take it. I think you should shoot them.
Yep, I agree. And in Massachusetts, that is basically what they say that you have to do. Like, there was this house of 2 girls that a man broke in, was attempting to rape them or something, and they called the cops, and the cops never showed up. And it's not like they straight up said you have to just take it, but they told them they can't do anything about it. I don't know. It's a story that Nikki tells a lot. I guess I kind of forgot some of the details.
Yeah.
I'm not from Massachusetts, but yeah, they basically say that it's as bad in some states and in some people's minds that they believe if somebody comes into your house to rob from you, it would be you'd be in the wrong if you shot them because they were just robbing. You should just let them rob and leave. That it's never right to take someone's life. No, I really believe that when you take someone's security by trespassing into their house, especially in the middle of the night, and that you're trying to take things from them, and you would be presumed to be willing to harm them because you've done these 2 things or violations, they're taking that upon themselves if your gun kills them when they shoot you to defend themselves and their property.
If you're going to enter a house and steal stuff from them, you better be willing to take the risk of them owning a gun and being able to shoot you as you're trying to rob them. So I can understand that, some people say it's wrong to never take a life. Well, that's fine if that's your principle, but at the same time, you've got to be willing to defend yourself and your property because there are people out there that don't care about your rights.
Let's see what the governor of another person that doesn't care about your rights. The governor of Illinois said, which I never even knew that the governor of Illinois' name is J.B. Pritzker. I thought that, I was thinking of the mayor of Chicago. I was I thought it was a woman. And I forget her name right now. But yeah, that's the mayor of Chicago, or maybe not the mayor anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Don't really pay attention to that state. The governor said the Protect Illinois Communities Act was the result of hundreds of hours of deliberation. And I'm sure the people that passed it, just passed the bill in front of them,
Most likely.
Hundreds of hours of deliberation between legal experts, legislators, and advocates, and it makes Illinois a safer place for everyone. It doesn't make anyone safer.
No, it just makes a nicer place for criminals to carry guns.
Yeah, exactly. Criminals still go around carrying guns every day, and the idea that Chicago is safe at all is ridiculous and actually hilarious. It's kind of scary to even be in the city at all because you feel like you never know when a shooting will happen because of freaking blue and red color fighting, gangs. They have gangs other than just the cops there.
Yep, they do. It's a city.
So yeah, it's ridiculous to act like that this act made anyone safer. All it did was make it harder for people to have guns to defend themselves against the gang members that randomly shoot into crowds and stuff every single day in Illinois. So yeah, he said it makes Illinois a safer place for everyone. Despite those who value weapons of war more than public safety, this law wasn't, people that carry around weapons that can kill people are some of the people in New Hampshire that make me feel the safest to be around because I know that no one is going to try any funny business when they see a bunch of people armed standing around me. You know?
I'm sure New Hampshire is very different than most states because of our gun laws here, and most people I don't know if it's true, but there are a lot of people who open carry and will open carry because they don't really care that, they don't really care that there are people out there who may want to take their guns because they believe in their right to keep and bear arms, and they believe in their right to protect themselves. So it's a really nice feeling to have people around you that support the right to keep and bear arms and are willing to protect you.
Yeah, in New Hampshire, it's pretty commonplace. Not as much in Keene. I don't think I've ever been just walking around Keene and have seen someone open carrying that wasn't like somebody I know. Like Nikki and Matt used to live next door. I'm sure I've seen them open carry here, but it's a lot more common if you leave Keene. But also, I don't really spend time in Nashua. It's probably not common there, or like any other college area.
I've actually never seen anyone open carry, so...
Yeah, well, it does happen. But the other thing is, it's a constitutional carry state, so it's completely, there's no law against it at all.
Yeah.
The only thing is bringing guns into, federal property. They usually have a sign up that says, no guns beyond this place, or doorway, or, any courthouse. Can't really bring a gun inside. But the feds that's just their federal laws.
But they get to bring the guns into their courts.
Yep. They're the only ones allowed with guns there.
People with special privileges. I guess those shiny badges do grant special rights.
Well, they don't actually.
Yeah.
No possibility.
That's true. People think that shiny badges grant special rights, but they really don't.
It's an impossibility. The only way to have an extra right over other people is to it's just impossible. I was gonna say is to take it and
take it by force.
Yeah,
maybe write it down in a
others to
book
not have it.
somewhere and say this book says I have rights over you.
But it's kind of funny because even then it's literally impossible because a right is just whatever is not wrong. Like you have innumerable rights, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You are right in doing anything you're doing that's not wrong to do. And something that's wrong is something that harms someone else or steals from someone else. And defrauds someone else. And the thing about that is I think that people think too much of rights as a numbered list of what things you can do. That would make life impossible. You got to think about that. If our rights were listed in the Constitution, we would be only doing a few different actions every day. We do all kinds of things. I walk my dog. I have the right to walk my dog.
Yep.
Because it's not harming anyone else. That's just one example of the thousands of things we do every day.
And besides, the Bill of Rights is only designed as a guideline for the government and the charter for the power that they are the power that they have. It's to show control over that kind of power. And the First Amendment allows for freedom of speech, religion. Second Amendment allows for protection. Third is you can't force people to lodge troops in your home. Fourth is unusual searches and seizures, and so on and so on. So these rights are the rights that governments or the U.S. government should recognize that its citizens or quote-unquote citizens actually have, or people under its jurisdiction.
I agree. It's not something that those rights aren't given to you by the Constitution.
No.
They're there, that they're written there as a way to say hey, this is something
we're not going to
the
encroach
government
on these things.
will not encroach on, right? But they still do all the time.
They do, yeah.
So this governor, he says, despite those who value weapons of war more than public safety, this law was enacted to and has protected Illinoisians, wow, I don't know how they say that, from the constant fear of being gunned down in places where they ought to feel secure. We look forward to the Attorney General filing an immediate appeal, and the Governor is confident the constitutionality of the Protect Illinois Communities Act will be upheld through this process. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that it gets taken out, even though I know
hope
they're
so
going to appeal.
too, but, there are people who are afraid enough that they think that, banning something with magic words written on paper is actually going to do something. And instead, it's going to enable criminals to keep and bear arms.
It would be great if we had time to Google this right now, how many mass shootings have there been in Chicago the whole time that it's been a law? Yeah. I'm sure there's been plenty. And he says, it has protected people from mass shootings, from gun violence. He said it has. Do you actually have proof of that?
How did they determine that? Did they see mass shootings go down? How did they measure that?
Yep, did some buddy come out and say, like, I was going to do a mass shooting, but I was stopped because of that law.
Yeah,
like,
because the words on the paper scared me.
Yeah, of the words on the paper scared him, or he was going to go try to buy an assault weapon. They said no. It's like, in that case, he would just go to, like, right over the border to some other state.
Yeah, like Missouri.
Or just print his own gun or something.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I really don't believe that happens all that often. Like, most shootings are, like, gang members, and other shootings a lot of times really have suspicious circumstances that make me think they're just something that the government put together to have people calling for gun laws, honestly.
That's entirely possible.
Entirely possible. Am I saying it is true? No. But is it absolutely a possibility? Yes, and it is one that people should consider. In fact, I love to say on there that the Sandy Hook shooting was a hoax, because that's what Alex Jones got fined billions of dollars for, and I think that is such BS, and I would actually fight back.
Yeah, I would fight back too. I mean, I don't personally think it was a hoax, but, you know...
It was a hoax, said on national radio.
I disagree, because I tend to think it was a real event, but it was definitely used by the politicians to scare people into, you know, giving up their rights to keep and bear arms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest hoax, is people believe that a group of strangers calling themselves government has rights over you because they were chosen by the populace. Well, no, it doesn't give them rights to do anything. In fact, they're just still people with titles, and people with titles don't have any more rights than you or I do.
And it's like they weren't chosen by everybody who is crying because Trump got elected and they voted for Harris. Like, should they be allowed to not do anything Trump says? Sure, that'd be great.
Why not? I agree with that. Like, they should be allowed to disobey the government as much as they want.
Yeah, they should. They should do anything they think that any kind of non-compliance that they think will make life better for them, I guess, under Trump. I really think they should. It's such a funny pendulum swing how no matter who's in power, the other side's supporters start being a lot more non-compliant.
Yeah.
So ridiculous. And it's so funny when I see people online saying, like, we fight for our rights, blah, 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 like leftists. And it's like, no, you literally don't. You don't even understand what rights are. And you're not out there doing anything like telling jurors about
jury nullification.
Nothing. They're not doing anything.
They claim that they're fighting for people's rights through using the government. Well, the government isn't fighting for the rights. They don't do anything. You're allowing a politician to steer your rights for you rather than taking your own rights back and saying, we're not going to comply. Now that the left sees that Trump's in power, it's now time for them to say, we will not comply like we do here in New Hampshire.
I actually thought that you said they're fighting for the right to use the government, and that's actually true half the time, too. It's like half the time they're just talking about the right to get welfare or the right to, you know, stop other people from doing things they don't like, just stuff like that, like with the government.
I know, and it's very concerning that the left only like freedom. The left only likes freedom when it's not their people in power. But when it's their people in power, they don't seem to really care. They just want to empower their favorite guy to do whatever they want, and then, you know, when their political enemies get in power, they're going to abuse that power or take it away from the government or whatever. And so I would say to anyone on the left listening, if you think that you are going to win by continuing to use government power to do things, you're not. Never give your political friends the power you don't want your political enemies to have or abuse.
That is good advice. Well, speaking of the reactions people are having to Trump being elected, this article here from MSN.com says...
Reputable news source.
Yeah, I don't know. Who cares? I mean, they're all kind of blend together in my mind. It says your body, my choice. Harassment toward women surges online after election day. And I just kind of think immediately from nothing but the title, haven't read the rest of this article at all. It's just like, wow, women are constantly like put into this group together where everything one woman does is like represents us all, and it's really annoying because it's like, it says harassment towards women surges. It's leftist women who are online crying about, like, saying that their rights are being taken away when all they have to do is live in the state that has the laws for that they like it, and it's like they're being really dramatic about their rights being taken away when they don't care 99.9% of the time about anyone else's rights. And for whatever reason, it's just this one specific thing. I honestly do believe that people shouldn't be stopped from getting abortions, but like when that's your only thing you care about, and then you're like happy to let every other right go down the drain to the point where like at one point you're not going to be in control of your body at all. If you're letting the government like force people to take vaccines and stuff, it's really hard to take them seriously.
It is hard to take them seriously because they're so hypocritical in the fact that they say my body, my choice, but yet they said that, you know, we gotta make everybody get a vaccine, we gotta make everybody wear a mask. It's for my safety. It's no longer my body, my choice when it's a disease. You could get me sick.
It's an emergency.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, have you been harassed yet, Bonnie, by other people online? Has that come up?
I've been harassed online like every day of my life, but not about this, if that's what you mean.
Okay. I'm just
because of Trump.
I'm just wondering if harassment against you surged. I mean,
oh, I see.
You're a woman after all.
It didn't surge any more than normal. No, I feel like there's always some group of people that will just insult you for no reason on the internet. And I, for whatever reason, have a really thick skin about it. Like, I don't even think I used to as much, but like definitely like doing Free Talk Live, just putting my face out there all the time and becoming confident with what I say is just like, I don't care at all when people are mean to me on like Twitter. Like all the time on Twitter. Somebody who disagrees with me with like especially an anonymous account where it doesn't show their face will call me ugly, and it's like I just know that's like objectively not true. And I'm not saying I am objectively like beautiful in every single person's eyes, because it's like a little in the eye of the beholder, but I do believe that there's enough objectivity about beauty to the point that like I cannot be called ugly. And it's like at some point like you have reached a point where you are attractive no matter what, but I believe that some people don't prefer like my type of hair or my type of this or that, but that doesn't mean that I will ever like go be ugly enough to be called ugly. Like that's there is objectivity to this. It's a lot subjective. There's also objectivity. The other thing about it is that people just can say a thing and it doesn't make it true, and I don't believe them. Like I don't believe them when they're saying that. So that's like the number one thing of harassment is like you say something like that a liberal doesn't like, and then you'll get a bunch of comments underneath saying like, oh, this coming from an ugly person. And it's like I have to laugh. You would never say that to my face. No one has ever called me ugly to my face ever in my whole entire life. Like it just wouldn't happen. In fact, if I was like around a bunch of people and someone came up and said you are ugly to me, like other people around would be like, no, she's not, because it's just objectively not true.
It sounds like you have a lot of confidence in yourself.
Well, I feel like at some point it's just like facing like reality of the situation. I think that some people, just from hearing that someone called them ugly, can believe like, oh, it must be true because beauty is just subjective. That person actually thinks that, and I don't believe them. Like I just don't believe that somebody actually thinks that.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a room for preference, like where somebody can be like, yeah, I kind of prefer thicker women, but that doesn't mean they think I'm ugly, like hideous.
That makes sense. I mean, I have my preferences in women, obviously, so, you know, everyone's going to have their preference and everyone's going to attack the people they don't like.
Everyone does. Like, that's the thing. Like, I can think that somebody isn't like what I prefer, but that doesn't mean that I think that they're ugly or that it isn't obvious that somebody else would want to be with them, etc.
Yeah.
This is a huge thing that like I've thought a lot about because of the fact that people think they can just insult in that way because they think it's that subjective. It's been Free Talk Live, freetalklive.com for more.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean,